Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin TV audiobook channel. Chapter 271, Attacked Again. Something is off. Arad flew above the forest in the middle of the night, searching for any place that could host the goblins, but he found nothing. They might be hiding the entrance in the trees or with thick foliage. We need to search on the ground, Jack suggested, looking at Arad's head. That's why I said we need a small army. Lydia looked at Jack and Arad. Let's get back to the village and request armed help to search the forest. The closest city that has a decent army is a fair distance away. We won't make it time, Ayla replied with a worried face. I want to get the elves inside out as soon as possible. But we can't act rashly, Arad added. Let's keep looking from the sky. He kept flying silently above the forest, hiding in the night darkness. As a void dragon, his deep, dark scales barely reflected any light, camouflaging him in the dead of the night. From a ground observer, it was almost impossible to spot him unless he noticed the 1 or 2 stars disappearing as he flew below them. Unsurprisingly, void dragons are nocturnal hunters by nature. They can use the night to their advantage. Even if Arad didn't know it, consciously, he could feel more at ease looking at the forest in the dark. Goblins don't have magic, do they? Arad asked as he saw a dot of magic in the middle of the trees. Goblin shamans can cast spells, albeit primitive ones. This might be lead, Lydia replied. She's right, but don't get too close. Fly away and have Ayla take the shaman down if it was one. Arad slowed down and started circulating around the blob of magic. It doesn't look stable. I hear fighting, swords clashing with bones. Let's hurry. Ayla tapped Arad's back. Arad flew down, landing a short distance away, and transformed into his human form as everyone jumped down from his back. Let's hurry, Lydia rushed forward. You will alert them, Arad called her. They are already fighting. We have to assist, Lydia replied as she rushed forward with her sword drawn. Damn it, Jack growled, running after her. Arad and Ayla looked at each other, nodding as they chased after the two. Ayla, get up to the trees. I will take the front with Lydia and let Jack pull the injured from the battlefield or sneak attack the big targets. Arad's draconic brain quickly spat a rough plan. Charge! Isdis shouted, pointing her sword forward as the knights rushed with shields, bashing the hordes of wolves into the trees. They are coming from the back! Spearmen, take a stance! The captain shouted. Arrow formation! He pointed at the 2 large forest giants glaring at them. They are too big. Crossbowmen, assist, the spearman shouted, seeing the giants standing taller than 6 meters with muscular bodies. Isdis rushed to the front. Stay behind me, she shouted, seeing the giant swinging a tree trunk at her. Bam! She jumped back, dodging the strike, but the dust almost blinded her. How annoying! She pointed her sword at the giant's frozen flesh creak. The giant's muscles cracked as small crystals of ice formed in his legs. Rapdas noon. Some ever, or. She bought us a chance. Kill him, the spearmen shouted, rushing Beth the giant and lifting their spears, wanting him to fall on them. Crack. The giant stomped forward, keeping his balance and swinging his frozen leg. Thrack. His kick sent the spearmen flying. The captain gasped, seeing the ice in the giant's leg healing. We can't win with the wolves distracting us, he shouted, and looked back. Everyone, focus on the wolves first. Isdis rushed toward one of the giants, rolling beneath its tree trunk swing/slash. With a single swing from her sword, she cut a deep wound into the giant's torso, but that quickly started to heal. Isdis turned around and jumped. Bam! The tree trunk hit the ground, so she got above it and ran to the giant's head, stabbing at his face. Freeze! The giant swung his fist, hitting her in the guts and sent her flying. Your Highness, the captain guard shouted. The giant swung his tree trunk off the barely moving Isdis. Clang! Lydia stood between Isdis and the giant. The tree trunk bounced off her sword as she glared forward with glowing golden eyes. Holy smite, thud! The giant jumped back, dodging her swing, and ran into the forest. Don't bother with the ones running, Arad shouted, standing between the captain and the second giant. Pew, pew. Arrows fell from the trees, dropping the wolves one after the other. One of the guards opened his eyes, feeling several slaps on his face. "Hey, you finally awake?" Jack smiled, fastening the bandages on the soldier's wound. "I gave you a weak healing potion to stop the bleeding. Keep putting pressure on the wound and retreat to the carriage. Who are you?" The guard barely moved. "We talk later when the fight end about healing you and the nice words you're leaving about us in the royal court." Jack smiled, helping the man stand, and then rushed to the next one. Arad glared at the giant, and it stopped moving. He could understand that Arad wasn't a human, so he shifted all of his focus onto him. Thud, thud, the giant started walking to the side, keeping his eyes on Arad. Arad did the same, making sure to not let the giant get behind his back. It was like two cats about to fight, growling at each other. Bam! The giant made the first move, swinging its tree trunk at Arad. Arad saw the tree trunk coming. He stepped to the side and swung his sword up. Void Dragon Fang Slash. Crack! Arad's sword didn't fully cut the tree trunk, only reaching to the middle, but deflected it up with a shockwave. The giant gasped. He was pushing down with all his might, yet this small man produced enough force to deflect the attack. Chapter 272, Ice Kick. Arad looked at his sword. Alcott kept warning him about trying to cut hard things with it. He could damage the edge, and there aren't that many blacksmiths that could work with such a weapon. Well, I guess I can't damage before the quest starts. Arad sucked the sword back into his stomach and cracked his fist. He glared at the giant with a smile. "Sorry, but I have to punch you to death." He walked forward, facing the giant monster. Arad closed his eyes, remembering his fight with Nina. He took a deep breath, sucking his boots and upper shirt into his stomach. He could feel it. The ground shook from the giant's weight and the wind moving as he swung the trunk. Even with his eyes closed, he could tell the giant was moving. That might seem unsteady, but in his draconic form, Arad is always barefoot and topless. He could feel the same things in his dragon form, and it was amazing to predict incoming attacks. Swash. Arad ducked beneath the tree trunk attack and swung the back of his fist at the spot that he cut earlier with his sword. Crack. The tree trunk shattered as the giant gasped. Arad smiled and stomped the ground. "Your moves are simple, far simpler than mine." He swung his fist at the giant wrist. Crack. The giant dropped the tree trunk, grasping his wrist and growling healing crush injuries took longer than clean slashes. Grew. Ow. The giant screamed, swinging his second fist at Arad. Thud. Arad ducked beneath it and took a deep breath. Swash! Arad spun in place, swinging a back kick at the giant's guts at full force, like a horse kick. Arad put all of his draconic might behind it. Bam! The giant's body flew away, crashing into the trees, his ribs shattered. The giant might look bigger, but Arad's true form was far larger, and it was a ram kicking a child in the gits. The guards froze in terror, and the captain's face turned pale. Izdis glared at Arad in shock. She never could have imagined seeing a giant flying, and from a human kick, no less. Bam! Arad lunged forward after the giant as he stood. Thud. He landed in front of the giant, closing his eyes and bringing an image from his memories. That Princess Izdis, how did she kick that tiger? Arad could remember that memory clearer than the blue sky. She gave the monster her back. His body followed his thoughts. She bent forward, lifting her right leg while keeping the left one firmly stuck to the ground. Izdis could see it coming, and she couldn't believe her eyes. Such a move requires incredible flexibility that I don't have, but that doesn't mean my joins can't achieve it. Crack! Arad's leg flew up toward the standing giant's jaw. At the moment of the impact, Arad remembered Izdis's magic, the one he's been seeing her use all the time lately. Ice? It's like that of Gojo, but where is the difference, Arad thought, sensing the void inside himself. With fire, Arad used the void in the air to rapidly move the air particles to heat them up. With lighting, he rubbed those particles together to generate a shock, but how with ice, it only took his draconic brain a second to figure it out. Rapdafen noon? Some. The humidity and water droplets in the air. Use the void to gather them to make water. Then, do the exact opposite of fire. Prevent the particles from moving to cool them down. Crack. Ice formed on Arad's foot as he kicked the giant jaw with his soul. Ice kick. The giant's head froze and shattered as Arad glared at the corpse falling to the ground with a smile. He clenched his fists and could see ice crystals forming on his forearms. Izdis stared at Arad, her knees shaking. Royal martial arts? Where did he learn it? She gasped, falling on the ground. No, that was my kick from earlier. Don't tell me he learned it with just one look. The captain sighed. I guess we're dealing with a fish bigger than our pond could handle. He sat on the ground. With suck power and learning speed, we might be late to trying to pull him in. But that was royal marital arts. Those moves aren't supposed to be that quickly. I was training since I was 12, Izdis gasped, almost crying. Sheer talent. You can't reach S rank with hard work and luck. You must be built differently than normal people, and he is. But it's unfair, she sighed. Look at his back and arms. I've never seen such muscles in my life. A man can train for his whole life and never achieve such a body. I won't be surprised if he ranked up this year into S rank, the captain added. Izdis stared at Arad jumping in place, his boots and upper clothes appearing again out of nowhere. She looked down, a little disappointed. She wanted to have a longer look at him, but couldn't. Arad landed on his feet, glaring at the giant's corpse. He could notice large claw marks on its back. A larger monster lives in this forest. We need to be careful. Giants are nomads. They keep moving all the time. With how old the wound is, I would say. They got it somewhere else. Arad looked around, and the fight was almost over. Aella had dropped the last wolf with her arrows, and everyone could finally breathe. Benov. Everyone sheathed their weapons as the last wolf died. How did you get attacked twice? Arad asked, approaching Izdis. And what happened to that elf? Izdis's face turned bright red and stumbled white, standing and tripped on her dress, falling on her face. Arad stared at her, confused. Are you okay? Did you hit your head or something? He couldn't understand why she was acting like a drunk kobold. She stood before Arad, bleeding from her nose, and bowed slightly. First, let me thank you on behalf of everyone here. You helped us twice. She smiled, blood trailing beside her lips. Chapter 273, Chased by a Dragon. Shouldn't you be more worried about yourself? Arad looked at her as she bled. You should check with Lydia and see if she can fix you up, he sighed, looking back and started walking. I'm going after the giant who escaped from Lydia, Arad replied, running into the forest. Stop, Izdis shouted. There is no need to chase a running monster. Thud. Aella grabbed her by the shoulder. Let him be! Thud, thud! Arad ran into the forest as fast as he could. His skin turned black as scales covered his body. Bam! He transformed into his draconic form and started running between the trees like a big cat. The lines of magic left by Lydia's holy smite trailed ahead of his, leaving a trail to find the giant. Probably it's best not to leave trails. Izdis might help in the quest later, and it will be confusing to see dragon claws everywhere. Arad stopped. You're right, that giant won't run that far. He turned around and closed his eyes, following Mom's instruction on how to hide his claw marks. First, use gravity magic to decrease his weight and not push too hard on the ground, and then run on the relatively soft inside of his paws and relax his joins, 4 knees to absorb the impact of his weight. With all of this and adding the fact it's pitch black in the middle of the night, God help the poor creatures he's hunting. After covering his previous tracks, Arad looked for the magic traces and found they disappeared. He ran away. He sighed. You can use your nose? Remember Alcott in the werewolf quest? Arad smiled, going to a spot where he saw the giant running before and started sniffing the plants and ground. I got the smell! Arad lifted his head and started running. He silently ran between the trees. Creak! He stopped. The wind shifted direction as Arad looked around, sniffing the ground. There are more of his kind around. I smell a couple more, Arad mumbled, thinking. Should I go after the other giants or follow the one who attacked us? Go after the other giants. They will offer more experience, and you will eliminate danger to the area in one go, Mom suggested. Arad nodded. This wasn't his territory where he would try to recruit monsters. There is no way for him to bring them home even if he wanted, so the only choice is to kill for the experience. Arad ran into the forest and jumped from a small cliff, stopping by a large cave entrance. Their stench fills the place. Giants live inside like goblins. Most wild monsters like those take shelter inside caves. Arad crawled inside. The cave could fit his draconic form in, at least in the entrance. Bam! A giant could feel the air stop flowing from the entrance as Arad's massive body walked in, so he rushed outside, seeing the dragon glaring at him. "Lizard King!" The giant shouted his lungs out, lifting a large log and swinging it at Arad. Crack! Arad caught the log in his jaw, clenching his fangs. Damn it! The giant got stuck, trying to pull it from Arad's mouth. Let go. Arad swung his neck up, lifting the giant and smashing his body on the ceiling, causing the stalactite blah. The giant puked blood, falling on the ground and bleeding to death. Thud! Arad put his claw on the giant's back and absorbed it into his stomach. Swash! Arad shifted back into his human form and pulled his sword out. Time to test all that I learned. He could see 3 giants rushing out. Cling Arad grabbed his sword hilt and took a deep breath, bending forward as the veins on his arms and legs bulged. Void Dragon, Fang, bam. He lunged forward and the first giant swung his club. Arad ducked beneath the attack and swung his sword up, cutting the giant's arm on the elbow. The giant growled, grabbing his bleeding arm and stumbling back. Arad swung his sword down as he lunged forward, passing between the giant's legs as he slashed him from the ground to the shoulder. Bam! The giant corpse fell to the ground, and the other 2 giants swung their clubs at Arad. Clap! Arad's wings expanded, blocking the attacks with ease, but he could feel a stinging, burning sensation on them. He bent his wings and dropped the strikes to the ground. Arad turned toward the giant at his left and swung his sword, cutting its head. Thud! The other giant grabbed Arad's from the back, lifting him up and squeezing his shoulders. I caught him. Call reinforcements and bring everyone, he shouted. New list! Stab! Blue! The giant puked blood as he felt a large thing penetrate his stomach. He looked down, seeing a large black tail extending from Arad's lower back and into piercing his torso. You monster? The giant growled as Arad looked back at him. Swash! Arad transformed back into his dragon form and bite the giant torso, cutting him in half. I'm bigger than you by almost twice the size. Arad absorbed the corpse into his stomach. It's the same way an adult human can't catch a cow with his bare hands. You can't hold me down. Arad looked back and saw more giants rushing in, and he smiled. More XP and souls are coming. The giants stopped, shaking in their place as they saw a dragon in the middle of their cave. In the monster world, there were 3 monsters that everyone knew that messing with them is a bad idea. Other monsters have evolved with an instinct to avoid them at all costs. Those 3 are dragons, devils, and anything with high divine magic like angels. People think that since high-level paladins are good people blessed by the gods, they face fewer monsters when traveling. Be religious and God will protect you. There was some truth to that, as monsters can easily mistake a high-level paladin or a pope for an angel. The giants inside the cave clenched their teeth, staring at Arad. "Oh, great lizard king, may we have a word?" One of the giants approached Arad slowly, dropping his club. Arad looked at the giant Goksu Din. "What do you need?" he growled in the dragon's tongue. "We want you to stop attacking our lair," the giant growled, bowing slightly. Arad nodded, big words for someone whose men are trying to circle behind in the cave. He could feel them crawling in the small tunnels behind the walls, trying to sneak behind him. Mira's tremor sense, it's really amazing. As long as I have my claws on the ground and I'm able to focus, I can feel them moving. Tch! The giant growled, extending his palm forward, trying to cast a spell. Arad opened his jaw and a spark emerged in his throat. "What? The giant cried as he got roasted alive with everyone behind him. The giant ran away as fast as he could, growling, 'Damn it! Damn it! Ganga is dead! Absolutely dead! That human wasn't human! Those are the gazes of the kings of the lizards. Thud! He jumped over a large boulder and rolled into a lower section of the forest. That woman, the one with the glowing golden sword, what's her deal? She hits like one of our kind. He crawled between the thick foliage and rubbed his body all over the crushed plants to mask his smell. After running for a few minutes, he stopped, panting, at a small cave, and he walked inside. Zahina, we need to warn Dova. Another lizard king appeared. He sighed, walking inside the cave and turning around the corner. He froze in place, seeing a large black lizard sitting inside, munching on a giant corpse. Zahina? The giant gasped, staring in shock at his dead wife. Zoho Rinda, you came! Arad turned his head, growling. Zashin Guru, who commanded you to attack. How did you find us? The giant shouted, swinging his fist at Arad's back. Bam! The fist landed but did almost no damage. Isk K.O. Jane, Joe. Suk Gij As Nor. I lost your tracks, so I followed the giant's smell. Arad replied. The divine magic that remained on the giant after Lydia's strike faded faster than he expected, so he started trying to find a giant with smell and ended up here. Everyone help! The giant screamed. Godsko, Gox, Eward, useless, they are dead! Arad's voice boomed across the cave. Everyone inside was dead. He killed all the giants he found and ate them. Well, I was out for goblins and found giants. They are better dead than endangering anyone else on the road. Arad stood, sucking Zahina's corpse into his stomach and staring at the giant. The giant tried to run away, but Arad bit the back of his head, killing him. Level 14, level 15. Available stat points. 1, 20 years, 29 years, ho. Another level up. I guess giants are stronger than the regular monsters I find in the forest, but what with the aging, it spiked. Most monsters have a few years lifespan, barely hitting triple digits. Goblins, for example, won't live past 11 years. Giants can live several hundred years, so they grant more. Arad looked deeper into the cave. Well, I killed over 30 of them inside. Chapter 274, A Purple Plan. Let's increase my strength. I need more power. Arad smiled, walking out of the giant cave with a belly full of meat. Strength 21, strength 22. He clenched his fist with a smile. Let's go back. They should be waiting for me. Arad smiled and started running. On the other side of the forest, a brown-haired woman walked down a stinky cave, ignoring the goblins working around. She lifted her hand, igniting a purple flame as went deeper. Eris, you have returned, a deep voice growled as two purple eyes glowed in the darkness. Eris sighed. I did indeed, father. She sat on a stone, glaring at the massive purple dragon coiled in the large cavern. Let me guess, the twins slipped from your hand. Even though I told you how important they were, the dragon growled, lifting his head. I know, but I couldn't help it. Clog came out of nowhere and killed that stray wolf. Eris growled, scratching her head. Damn it, 7 years' plan went up in smoke like a cremated corpse. Clog, what brought that crazy bitch there? Shouldn't she be watching and gawking at human noble ladies' drama from her spy crystals? The dragon looked at Eris. How could I know, she sighed, looking at the back of the cavern. She could see a red dracina chained to the walls. You have your own hobbies like her. Shouldn't you know? Humph, Eris's father snorted. I snatched her in the forest. It's none of your business. I killed her mate and one of her wormlings. The last one escaped, so I didn't bother with it. Eris stood. A purple dragon doesn't just take the powers of red and blue dragons. You mix their nasty traits as well. She started walking away. Wait, there's something I need you to do around here. The dragon growled, standing up. The Deianira family. I can sense their daughter around here. He pointed at the cave entrance. She's a blonde elf with green eyes. Bring her to me alive. Deianira, the Wind family. Eris looked back at her father. Yeah, her blood is essential if I want my plan to work. Eris looked back at her father, scratching her chin. The elvish necklace. I heard that the humans stole it from the elves. Is that why you need her? Where did you hear about the necklace? The dragon growled, glaring at her. In Rita, some people in the Thief Guild were saying that an adventuring party under the leadership of a man named Gojo was trying to steal it back from the royal capital. Eris growled. I should have tracked that more. It doesn't matter. Taking the necklace from the humans is as simple as walking in and grabbing it. My problem is harnessing its power, the dragon growled. Damn, that Deianira woman. She sent her daughter away from me at the expense of everything. Fine, I will take a walk to the nearby human village and tell you if I found anything. You stay hidden for now. Eris waved her hand. Can I take control of the goblins? Using them as a distraction would work perfectly. Do what you like, but I will charge once we find the Deianira girl. I don't want her slipping out of my hand. Just don't interfere. Eris walked out, glaring back at her father and the Dracana he kept in the back. If she's around, she must be in the village. Now how do I make sure no one strong is around her? Eris smiled, looking at the wiggling goblins. I know, she giggled. Separate into 2 groups. The small one head to the east and build a new nest, and the rest remain here but hide. Reris glared at the goblins. I want 3/4 here, and the rest in the east. I won't repeat it a 3rd time, you idiots. She walked back into the cave and stared at the goblins. Where does father keep his food? From here, Lady Eris. A goblin guided her deeper into the cave. Inside a large chamber, Eris found 3 chained women and 7 men. The master says women taste sweet, while men are savory. Eris sighed. Father always had a sweet tooth like a red dragon. I guess I can only use men. She dragged one of the men outside the cave. Eris smiled, pulling her wand. Fire sigil. She cast a small spell, and the man rolled on the ground, howling in agony. This is a simple spell that Eris made. It is lightning to stimulate nerves for pain, as well as fire to burn the flesh beneath the skin in the shape of a sigil. Go to the village and find a blonde elvish woman with green eyes. Try and find what her weapon and class are. Trick them to send everyone into a goblin nest in the east except her. Eris smiled. What? The wiggled on the ground, crying as he felt an agonizing burn on his back. I don't care what you tell them or what story you make. Crack. Eris kicked the man in the face, breaking one of his tooths. I ingrained my spell beneath your skin. No mage could detect or dispel it beside me. She smiled, sitting on a stone. If you want me to remove it. She waved her wand, and the man howled again in pain, writhing on the ground like a dying worm. Then make it happen. I want the elf woman alone in the village. Eris pointed toward the village with her wand. Hurry up. The man stood and turned around, about to run to the village. Grower, the pain returned, and he fell on his face. Eris laughed. Sorry, I wanted to remind you one last time. You better make it happen. She finally released the man from his agonizing pain and let him leave toward the village. Back in the village, Arad, Aela, Jack, and Lydia sat around a table at the inn facing Izdis and her guard captain. How are we going to find the goblins? Arad asked. Chapter 275. A pleading man Izdis looked at Arad. I hate to admit it, but I'm not that expert in the goblins' nature. I only intended to escort the elves into our land to deal with them. The guard captain looked at Arad. Those goblins aren't acting natural at all. They only attack the elves, ignoring the humans, so you would rarely find them on this side of the forest. He looked at the door with a worried face. You're thinking the same way as me? Something stronger is controlling them. Arad sighed. I thought the giants were behind it, but they didn't seem to have a hand. How could you tell? The captain stared at Arad, worried about hearing the answer. I paid them a visit, Arad replied. They nested in a cave to the north. What? The inn owner gasped. Giants around the village, he cried. We need to put a quest to eliminate them before they attack the village. No need, Arad sighed. Already killed them. Everyone froze, glaring at Arad's white sweating. You must be joking, the captain giggled. Giants aren't that easy to deal with, and they live in groups. Arid lifted his hand, and 5 giant heads fell on the ground. I do have more stored. I killed them. He glared at the frozen captain. Ednadaroview Izdis stared down with her mouth gaping open as the inn owner backed away. Just find me the goblin nest. I have bigger goals in mind, Arid smiled. If I managed to impress the royal family, I could use them as a shield from the mage's tower until I grow strong enough to defend myself, or at least use their information network to my advantage. Arid could only see Izdis as a tool to protect himself, putting her and the royal family in the front to deal with the mages. That would allow Arid to seek his other goal with ease of mind. Lydia sighed. For real, aren't you the one who told me not to bother by the running monsters? One, probably, but I can't ignore a horde of them, Arad replied with a smile, and Jack laughed. Leave some for us. I want to test this on a living thing, he cracked his hand. Alice stood. It's almost dinner time. I will go bring something from the owner. She looked at the counter. Yes. The owner gasped. Dinner is ready. I will get the tray out. He rushed inside, and Ayla followed him. Arid stood looking around with a worried face. Did you hear that? Hear what? Izdis stared at him. She couldn't hear anything. Jack blinked. Goblins, he stood. Someone is yelling goblins. He looked at the door, rushing to open it. Everyone went into the street to listen, and only then Izdis could hear it. A faint cry for help came from the main village gate. Goblins. A man screamed at the front gate. Arid, Ayla rushed from inside the inn. I heard someone yell goblins. I know. It's coming from the front gate. Everyone ran toward the gate to take a look. They found the guards glaring at a crying elvish man. I barely escaped from them, humans. Please let me in the village. The guards glared at the man, confused. Even if you tell us we're at war and we can't trust you. You might be a spy. Please let me in, he screamed. Fine, but you wait here in the garrison until we get word to the village head. We don't want to be blamed for this. They sighed, looking at each other. You don't need to bother. The chief's order is to not let any elf into the city without proof of goodwill. One of the senior guards growled. We aren't seeing any of the goblins you speak of. What's going on? Izdis growled, walking between the guards. Who are you, bitch? Scram back to your house? The senior guard growled. Crack, Izdis's guard captain, punched him in the face, immediately sending his teeth to the ground. Watch your mouth, he growled. Izdis pulled a royal necklace, lifting it up. I'm here on behalf of the king himself. I, Princess Izdis Lior Ruris, hereby take control of the village by birthright. Simply put, the village is now under her rule, since she's a direct descendant of the king. Let the man inside the city and treat his wounds. Don't forget to check him for poisons or anything of the like, as you order. The guards bowed, rushing the man into the city. From the corner of his eyes, the man could see Ayla standing in the back. A blonde, elvish woman with green eyes. To think I would find you this easily. Gah, the man growled, rolling from the guard's hands. Don't mind me. The goblins, you must deal with them. He crawled on the ground, seeing the bow on Ayla's back. Send a group of the elite to their nest in the east, smoke them out to the city's open plains, and then rain arrows on their heads. That's the only way to safely dispatch such numbers. He growled, crying. Izdis looked at Arad. With you around. Arad nodded. I will be the one to smoke them out. Everyone gathers on the village walls and prepares arrows. The man blinked twice. Is this idiot serious? He can't go alone. Don't go alone, you would die, the man cried, glaring at Arad. Please take a strong party with you, he pleaded. I don't want this to fail because we underestimated the green demons. Arad looked at the man with a smile. Don't worry, I can handle myself well. He patted him on the back. Jack, fill the plain with traps. Ayla stands with the guards on the walls, and Lydia, protect the gate. I believe you can do it. Lydia smiled. As a protection and a vengeance paladin. Goblins would only get into the village after stomping my corpse. The man started sweating. This isn't the plan. This isn't the plan. I have to get the woman alone. Chapter 276, The First Wave. Arid looked at the man and smiled. Where's the nest exactly? He stepped forward. Can you lead me there? The man gasped, falling on his butt and crawling back. Arid, I don't think we should send him back to the goblins, especially before he gets any treatment. Izdis looked at Arad. We can't send the elves' people into danger. Arad looked at the man, getting a weird itching in his stomach. It was a faint tingling, and the man looked delicious to him for a second. Mom, I do have a feeling that I should bite this man in half. A gut feeling? I can't sense those from you, so I can't tell. But if your draconic senses are tingling, it could mean that your unconscious mind is picking something from that man that you can't consciously recognize. What could it be? Either you have a taste for elves, the man is releasing a faint bloodlust, or has magic hidden inside of him. It can't be magic. The man has none in him. Even if it was bloodlust, he won't do any damage while being monitored, and he could be releasing it since I wanted to drag him with me to the nest. Arid scratched his head. I might also have a taste for elves. They live long after all. Arid turned around. You said they are in the east, right? Arid rushed forward. No, it will be an easy fight from behind the walls, but don't underestimate the goblins and make sure to aim well. Everyone started running around, checking the wall's integrity and bringing buckets of arrows and oil jars. I will help myself to the village's smithy for tools. You don't mind, right? Jack smiled, looking at Izdis and the village chief standing behind her. For what purpose? The village chief growled. Do you need some men to help you? Izdis replied. Izdis and the village chief stared at each other, and she glared at him. Sorry, please use whatever you want. The village chief giggled, sweating. If that's the case, can I have 4 of your knights helping me? Jack looked back at the knights digging trenches. Hoy, who wants to set bear traps all around the plains? Knights looked at their shovels and pickaxes. Setting traps looked more fun than digging, they gasped, glaring at Jack. I would help. No, I will. I built rabbit traps in the past. They started arguing, and Jack smiled, picking 4 of them and dragging them to the smithy. We need nails, wooden plates and poles, iron pikes and steel wires. Pick all that you find, put them in a crate, and help me carry them to the plains. Jack smiled, rubbing his hands as he ran in front of the knights. Jack always had to keep in mind how much supplies he has for traps, trying to use them efficiently. But this was the first time in his life that he had an almost unlimited budget. He stopped. I almost forgot. Can someone drag the grinding stone? No way, it's too heavy and we're already carrying too much, one of the knights gasped. I will do it, Lydia said, approaching from the back. You're here, Jack smiled. Shouldn't you be at the gate? I will go there when the attack starts. For the time being, I don't have anything to do. Lydia smiled, grabbing the grinding stone with 2 hands. Gah! She lifted it and took a deep breath. Oh, it's heavy, but I can move it without a problem. She started walking behind them, and the knights stared at her, terrified. That's a paladin for you, the crusader rushing at the front of the holy battlefield. One of the knights looked at Lydia. I remember the holy army charging in the dead of the night to slay the undead flooding from the necrotic dungeon outbreak. I wasn't a paladin at that time, but I heard of it. A great battle with over 500 paladins. Lydia smiled. Ayala walked to the top of the walls with the archers. The normal arrow can kill goblins. She strapped her steel bow to her back and took a regular warbow. Good, she pulled the string and aimed at the forest. Let's try a shot. She took an arrow and fired it, testing the range and control. Lady Ayla, am I right? One of the guards approached her. Yes, do you need anything? She looked back at him. By Izdis and Chief's order, you're the leader of the archery unit for this battle. I came to inform you of that. He bowed slightly. What, me? No way, she gasped, stepping back. Our lives are in your hands. Please guide them well. Ayala could remember the elves dying in front of her as flames consumed the forest. A sudden attack came in the dead of the night. She looked at the dark sky. She could remember flashes of it, a purple beam falling from the stars. She shouted at the other elves to run outside the burning city, but a second beam burned them to ash. She lifted her hands to create a wind barrier and block the third beam, but the next thing she remembered was her standing in the middle of a war between the human and elves. The wind of the shield she made to protect has shifted the elves' arrows volley, killing hundreds of them. Aella gulped down and stared at the bowing guard. Don't trust me with anything. Fire and kill the goblins as you have trained. She looked at the forest, seeing large hordes of goblins rushing out of the trees after Jack finished putting the traps. Goblins! Goblins! Hold fire till they reach our range! One of the guards screamed, lifting his bow but not pulling the string. Aim! He screamed again, pulling the string and taking a deep breath. Fire! He screamed after waiting about 3 seconds. A large volley of arrows rained down on the goblins, killing the first wave before they could even get close to the city, and the guards cheered. Aella looked at the goblins, worried. Arad went to their nest. I didn't expect more than a few to show up, she mumbled. Chapter 277. Something is going bad, really fast. The people in the village cheered after the guards, sensing their approaching victory under the royal flag of Isdis's knights. Hyum, Lydia mumbled, standing outside the front gate, leaning on her sheathed sword. You don't look well, Isdis, who stood beside her, asked. This isn't a place for a princess to stand in. Lydia looked at her with a smile. Don't change the subject. The volley was bad. Isdis smiled. Even if I'm a princess, I will respect the opinion of someone more experienced than me. It's not about that. The volley was perfect. Lydia sighed. It's just, there are a lot of goblins. I didn't expect any to show up, considering we sent Arad to their nest, no veil. It also clicked in Isdis's head. Arad cleared a giant nest. How could mere goblins escape from him? There were a lot of them, and some slipped. It doesn't seem that way with those numbers. The two looked at each other. Those aren't the goblins he's smoking out? Lydia asked. I don't know, but it's pertinacity strange. I will send some rangers after him to check it out. Thanks for the warning. Isdis ran back behind the gate to send some knights after Arad. Lydia smiled. It's rare to see a royal listening to their soldiers. She looked forward at the second wave of goblins. This one had some hops mixed in, and the numbers started to look scary as they blotted the forest. Over 200 goblins and about 50 hobs showed up. A guard screamed, "Fire 2 waves of arrows and let it rain death." Lydia looked above the gate. Seeing Jack standing on the battlements with the 4 knights with him, all smiling. Sir Jack, should I pull it out? One of the knights said with an excited smile, holding the tip of a steel wire in his palm. No. Should I pull mine? Another one smiled. Don't let's wait. I'm sure there are bigger waves coming after this one. Jack giggled, glaring at the battlefield with a nasty gaze. Lydia sighed. Ha, that face, he's going to blow it sky high. She smiled. Traps are really strong if you can set them beforehand. Arrows fell from the sky, and the second wave got quickly cleared as goblins' blood filled the plains, staining them red. Arad finally found the goblin nest, seeing 2 goblins gawking at the entrance, sighting. He smiled and walked out of the bushes. Hoy, how are you doing? He waved his hand to the goblins. The goblins jumped in fear, glaring at him. Who, ma'am? One of them cried, pulling a wooden spear and aiming it at Arad Crack. It was at that moment that the goblin felt it. Arad wasn't a human, as monsters. Their senses have adapted to perceive danger, and they could tell if they are facing a losing battle. The 2 goblins froze in place, crying in goblinoid. We're unlucky, another lizard king. Arad glared at them, wondering how to scare them all the way back to the village. Damn it. A goblin cried, rushing at Arad, swinging his spear. Crack! Arad kicked the goblin in the head, cracking its skull open as he pulled his sword. It's simple to kill everything. I feel sad for everyone else, but they won't be fighting anything tonight. He rushed deeper into the goblin's cave, massacring anything in his way. Back in the village's makeshift medical house, the elvish man was getting treated for his wounds and scars. "How are you feeling?" The woman healing him said with a worried smile. "Elves are known to be picky and haughty." The elvish man smiled. "I feel better. Thank you," he smiled, surprising her for a second. She smiled. "I thought you would get angry. Anything feels better after goblins." He sighed, closing his eyes on the bed. "Can you let me take a short nap?" The woman stood and walked out of the room. "You seem to be enjoying yourself." A voice came from the window, and the man jerked back to life. He looked to the side, seeing Eris standing at the window with a smile. "I heard the soldiers saying they sent a single man to the goblin hideout. This isn't what I asked you to do. It wasn't my fault. That stupid princess did it." The elvish man growled. Eris sighed. "What should I do? You alerted the whole city, and the elvish woman is now in the middle of the whole armed garrison. I can still make it happen. Just let me go to them one last time." The elvish man cried. Eris smiled. "You don't have to do that." She waved her hand. After 5 minutes, the woman returned to the room. "You have medicine to eat before sleeping. I hope you aren't asleep yet." She opened the door. The woman blinked twice, but there were no traces of the elvish man. "Where are you?" She approached the bed, only seeing a pile of white dust. "Fire! Fire!" Aella shouted at the guards around her, aiming her bow at the hordes of goblins appearing from the forest. "Fire at will," she shouted again. "We're firing as fast as we could," one of the guards replied to her. "It's strange Arad won't let this many goblins toward the village. If I know him well, he would try to kill them all." Did something bad happen to him? Lydia could see the goblins' numbers growing out of control. She looked above the walls at Isdis. "What happened to the rangers? Any news about Arad?" "They should have reported to me 10 minutes ago, but I didn't get any reply." Isdis shouted back so Lydia could hear her. Lydia looked at the hordes with a worried face. Something is off. Aella kept aiming and aiming until her fingers got tired. She retreated to the back lines to drink some water and rest for a bit. There were over 100 archers on the walls. Certainly losing her 3 or 4 arrows won't hurt for a few seconds. "Here is some water." A woman handed the jug to Aella. "Thank you." Aella smiled, taking the jug from the brown-haired woman. "I didn't see you here before," Eris smiled. "I just came to help," she smiled. Chapter 278, The Purple Dragonoid. Aella drank the water with a smile, taking a deep breath. "I should get back to firing." "Yeah, that's right," Eris replied. Eris stared at the sitting Aella in silence for a second. Wash. Clang. Out of nowhere, Eris pulled a shiv and swung at Aella's shoulder. Aella jumped to the side, swinging her warbow as a club, and a burst of flames and winds exploded, scaring the guards on the walls. Aella stared at Eris with a stern face. "Who are you?" she growled. Eris smiled. "What a quick reaction. You're truly an elf," she giggled as Aella's wooden warbow burned into ash. "I asked who you are?" Aella growled again, feeling a sharp pain in her stomach. For a second, she thought the water was poisoned. When she looked down, she saw blood trailing down her stomach. She was stabbed in the guts. "You thought the water is poisoned?" "Sadly, I can't do that." Eris smiled, throwing the shiv away. "Father needs your blood to be clear, and poison would stain them." Aella ignored the pain and bleeding in her stomach, pulling her steel bow and aiming at Eris. "An enemy," she shouted, firing 3 arrows. "Bam, bam, bam, Bonoville!" Holmes wash. A burst of purple plasma exploded from Eris's body, melting the arrows instantly as she rushed forward. Thud! She punched Aella in the guts, cracking one of her ribs and sending her falling from the wall. "I don't care how badly injured you are," Eris smiled, staring down at her. "I know how much force is needed to kill a person, and healing magic can always fix wounds," she giggled. Swash. Aella pulled one of her arrows, stabbing the wall and slowing her descent a bit before hitting the ground. Eris intended to leave her at 1 HP and drag her back to her father. Eris jumped from the wall, landing in front of Aella. "You're a ranged archer. Forget about fighting someone up close." She extended her hand to grab Aella by the hair. Crack. Eris only saw a steel boot stomp the ground beside Aella's head as a sharp blade raced up, slicing her arms like a loaf of bread. Thud. Eris jumped back, seeing her arm fall on the ground as Lydia stood beside Aella. "You smell like shit, vampire," she growled, golden lightning crackling from her eyes. Eris smiled. "I see, a paladin, bam." Her arm grew back. "You can sniff us, can't you? Like a well-trained dog." Lydia pointed her sword forward, glancing back at Aella. "Put pressure on the wound and grab my ankle." Aella did just that, and Lydia released a wave of holy magic through her legs, stopping the bleeding. Eris looked at them, smiling. Paladins, the class mixing the healing capabilities of cleric and raw power and skill of fighters. That was the basic healing touch, wasn't it? Healing touch is one of the simplest spells a cleric or a paladin can cast. It can't heal wounds, only stop the bleeding temporarily to allow for further treatment. Paladins usually use that spells to stop bleeding mid-fight and keep fighting till the last breath. "We just me, but I already hate." "You talk a lot," Lydia glared at Eris. "What brought a vampire here? Goblins were bad, but it's even worse with someone like you're around." "Is that so? I only need that elf behind you." "I don't care about anything else, so get out of my way." Eris smiled. "I refuse," Lydia growled, lifting her sword up and lowering it in front of her face. "In the name of Mother Earth, the newborn sapling, and the blazing sun in the sky. You won't touch anyone in this city." Divine magic flowed from Lydia's body. Big words for a single woman. "Do you think you can protect them all?" Eris laughed. "By the gods, it shall come true," Lydia said with determination, glaring at Eris with a golden aura. Eris smiled. "Well, then you try protecting them. Let's see if the gods can protect you." Crack! She stomped the ground, shattering it as a burst of plasma exploded from the cracks like lightning. Clap. A burning purple spear appeared in Eris's palm. Condensed fire needle. Lydia lowered her sword to take a stance, and Eris lunged forward, thrusting her spear forward. Crack. Lydia swung up, deflecting the attack with a thunderclap. The shockwave sent Aella rolling back to the walls. Bam! Aella hit the wall and fell on her face. She slowly lifted her head up, reaching into her pocket to get a healing potion. Clang! Clang! "That woman," Aella growled. She had already noticed the faint scales on Eris's neck. "A dragonoid half-dragon?" she gasped. Eris swung her spear at Lydia's neck, but Lydia deflected it and slashed at her chest. Eris jumped back and Lydia followed her, swinging down at her neck. "You're fast for someone wearing such heavy armor." Eris smiled, spinning around and kicking Lydia in the face, sending her rolling. "But you aren't as robust as me," she laughed. Lydia rolled on the ground and stood back up immediately. Her face scratched. "Is that so? You're only a pest?" She growled. Thud. Eris's body fell to the side and her face hit the ground. She looked down, seeing her right leg, which touched Lydia. It has disintegrated up to the knee. Eris stood and her leg grew back in a single thud. "Nothing that my regeneration can't deal with," she smiled. "But let me show you some tricks." Clap. Eris clapped her hands with a smile. A wave of blood magic, mixed with plasma, raged from her body for a second before fading away. "Burning butterfly of death, dance of 1,000 burning corpses," Eris chanted, and flames exploded around her. Lydia jumped back, avoiding the hot wave of magic. All the goblin corpses burned with plasma, the skin evaporating from their bones as they stood and started walking. Everyone in the city cried, seeing the dead goblins stand back up as undead, and a horrifying monster flew down from the plasma. Chapter 279. Death Butterfly Via's the holy paladin. Eris flew down like a burning butterfly. 2 dark bat wings spread from her lower back, and 2 large purple plasma ones from her upper shoulders. The ground started melting beneath her feet as she landed glaring at Lydia with a smile. She swung her spear around, and a large blade extended from the tip, shaping it into a scythe. Lydia clenched her teeth, pointing her sword forward and taking a deep, painful breath of scorching air. The unholy child of red and blue dragons, mixed with the vampire's filth, she growled, looking at Eris. I'm far beyond what you can win against. Eris smiled, hitting her scythe pommel on the ground, causing an explosion. Scorching heat requiem, a. All the scorching goblin plasma skeleton rushed at Lydia at once, surrounding her in a deathly trap. Beat Durdlin. Everyone on the battlefield felt sick in their stomachs from the heat and necrotic magic of Eris's vampiric blood magic. Normal people quickly fell to their knees, gasping for air and sweating as the field ignited. Lydia, Aella screamed, clap. A golden lightning strike fell from the sky, and the skeletons burned in to ask. Bam! Lydia walked forward. Each of her steps quaked the ground as she lifted a spectral golden flag. What an extreme link with the gods. Eris smiled. In a holy war, you would be the flag bearer, won't you? She smiled. Thud. Lydia stabbed the flag on the ground, creating a safe zone and rushing forward at Eris. She swung her sword. Holy smite, swash. Eris dodged the strike and slashed at Lydia with her scythe. Lydia swung her sword up, divine cleaver clap. Eris's scythe exploded with a thunderclap the moment it touched Lydia's blade. It's a thin balance you have there between the blood, fire, and lighting magic. She growled. K-Dom! Lydia felt a heavy blow at her side, and her vision went dark for a second, finding herself stuck to the wall. Who said what? Eris glared at her with a smile. You aren't as fast as me. She had already recreated her scythe crack. Lydia fell to the ground, barely standing up. Her armor burned and seared her skin. Click. Lydia lifted her sword up, looking at Eris. She's strong, but I need to take her down. She smiled, the purple flames heating her armor shifted into a warm golden color. No one else will die, Lydia shouted, and a compressed aura of divine magic started raging from her body. Eris laughed. I fought my share of priests and paladins that wanted to hunt vampires. Some were far stronger than you, but no stood with such injuries. Lydia stared at Eris. I would die if I charged at her, but I must kill her. I have no other choice than to damage her as much as I can in a single protection. A paladin should be the first and last one to die. No one behind them shall be harmed. Lydia took a deep breath of the searing heat. Vengeance, no mercy for the wicked. A paladin should be the first one to raise their blade in the face of evil. Divine cleaver. Lydia blasted forward, engulfed in searing divine flame, swinging her sword toward Eris's neck. Eris smiled, swinging her scythe up to deflect Lydia's slash clap. The scythe exploded into sparks of purple flames as it touched Lydia's blade, unable to stop it. Eris tilted her head to the side, ducking below the slash and swinging her fist at Lydia's stomach. Stab! Lydia shifted her torso to about a spinal hit, taking the stab on her left side. She then dragged her blade down at Eris's head, clap. It only took a fraction of a second, and everything exploded when Lydia's divine cleaver hit. Lydia, Aella shouted. Her body finally healed enough, and she could stand. When the dust cleared, she saw Lydia coughing blood with Eris's right arm jammed into her stomach and coming from her back. Lydia's sword cut Eris from the left shoulder down to the stomach, but she was already healing the wound. See, you won't win. Eris looked at Lydia's eyes. No, with your level of strength. She tried to pull her arm crack. Eris blinked, and her arm was stuck in Lydia's body. All thanks to improved life force preventing her from losing consciousness. You won't go anywhere. Grag-rag, 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 grag-rag. Rack-rack, 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 rack-rack. Lydia growled, screaming her lungs out, and her body burst into holy flames, searing Eris's body. Channeled divinity, Lydia pleaded to the gods, and they agreed instantly to grant her the power to burn the vampire. Eris could feel her skin disintegrating. Lydia was keeping her in place by using her divine magic to weaken and keep her arm in place. Let me go, Eris screamed. I would really die like this. She swung her fist at Lydia's head. Thud! Lydia grabbed Eris's wrist with her palm. I won't let you go, she increased the intensity of her holy magic. Then I will burn you before you burn me. Eris ignited her body in purple plasma, trying to counter Lydia's holy flames. A touring clash between golden holy flames and purple plasma rose to the sky in a spiraling tornado as the two women screamed. Ella pulled her bow, aiming at the flames, but she couldn't tell where Lydia or Eris were. It was too bright to look at. Thud, crack. A weird steel arm stopped beside Eris's head and the wrist bent down, revealing a black four-tube barrel. Bam. A fiery explosion rushed out, sending a round steel ball that blasted Eris's head to bits, and the flames stopped. In that instant, Lydia's flames burned Eris's arms, and she fell on her back, bleeding. "Lydia," Jack cried, pulling a large healing potion and pouring it on Lydia's stomach. "Please hold out. We will get you treated immediately." He looked at her, and the situation was bad. Lydia was unresponsive, bleeding buckets from her stomach. Crackle, crackle. Jack felt something vibrating on his waist, and as he looked, it was the wakizashi he got from that demon. Jack pulled the blade, and he could see the sun symbol on it glowing with divine magic. He could only feel one thing, a compelling feeling to leave it with Lydia. Blessing of the sun, Amaterasu crack. Jack felt a warm gust of air behind him. He turned and saw a massive red Dracaena with chains around her neck, glaring at him as Eris healed in the back. "What?" he gasped. Bam. Jack could see a massive purple dragon appear out of nowhere, as if he was a camouflaged lizard, and started walking toward Aella. "I finally found you," the purple dragon growled. Chapter 280, A Rogue's Creed. Jack froze in place as the red Dracaena glared at him. She was far bigger than Arad or the red very young dragon they fought before. He knew winning wasn't an option. "Kill or eat them. I don't care as long as they don't get in my way." The purple dragon growls as approaches Aella. "Grrr!" The red Dracaena growled like a lion stalking a rabbit, a faint gust of flames gushing out of her nose as her head approached Jack. Jack stood still, sweating from heat and pressure. Lydia was dying at their feet as a red dragon prowled at his head. All his instincts told him it was over, but something else crawled into the back of his head. Wash. Out of nowhere, Jack swung his arm, pulling on his cloak. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared with Lydia, and the Dracaena growled, glaring around. Bam, bam, bam. Out of the village wall, the only 4 baristas in the whole place fired at the same time. The knights who helped Jack set the traps started at the red Dracaena with smiles. The Dracaena lifted her wing and smacked the bolts aside as if they were nothing. Such mundane weapons didn't have enough power to scratch her scales. Thud. The Dracaena heard something in the distance, so she glared in that direction, seeing Lydia's body drop to the ground. "KK, Gordoom. That rogue abandoned her," she growled. Bam! A fiery explosion blasted from the ground below the Dracaena's wing, knocking it up slightly as she looked down in annoyance. Gagdram. Traps. The Dracaena looked around, searching for Jack. She knew he didn't just give up, since otherwise hitting her with a trap would have been meaningless. Crack. A branch cracked, and the Dracaena swung her tail at full speed. The snap happened in a fraction of a second, like whipping last and ripping the trees off the forest. "Human," the Dracaena growled. "Do you think I won't sense you, Bam?" A mental ball hit the Dracaena head beside her left eye, leaving a dent in her scales. She growled, staring around, but she couldn't find where Jack was hiding. Even focusing on her nose didn't help. The place reeked with goblin stench. It masked anything human. Thud. Jack walked, his body dripping with goblin blood beneath his invisibility cloak. "I don't have enough firepower to damage a dragon. All I can do is buy time." The Dracaena twisted her neck around, trying to find Jack. It was then that she noticed something strange. Lydia was missing her sword. Boom! Roar! The Dracaena growled as something exploded beneath her hind legs. She lunged back, staring down to see her left hind leg bleeding. "You bastard human, where are you?" The Dracaena growled, staring at the ground. Jack walked silently, watching each step as he tied Lydia's blade to his artificial arm with steel wires. He walked beneath the Dracaina, approaching her front right leg. In the blink of an eye, he swung the sword and fired a shell at the last moment to accelerate the cut, aiming at the soft underneath of the Dracaina's scales. The purple dragon stared back at the Dracaina. "You useless lizard. How are you having a hard time with a human? Hurry and kill him. Burn the whole place if you need." The Dracaina growled, glaring back at the purple dragon. It wasn't like she wants to fight here. He chained and dragged her here. Her red draconic blood was boiling, and she would attack him given the chance. The Dracaina lifted her wings up and looked at the ground, flames gushing from her jaw. "Burn to ash," she mumbled as fire breath burst forth. Jack ran away, dragging Lydia away and rolling behind the hill, panting as he glared at the fading blast. "There you are." The Dracaina stared at him. "Fire exposed the rat. Wouldn't it be better if you died already?" Jack smiled, pulling a yellow potion from his stomach. "I was keeping this for Lydia or Arad, but I guess I have to use it." She downed the potion. "It isn't designed for a weak rogue like me. Usually only fighters, barbarians, or paladins use it." He threw the empty bottle on the ground as black veins bulged on his skin. Berserker potion temporarily increased stats and reduced pain. The Dracaina stared at Jack as he giggled. It also jumbles the mind, something a rogue won't like. She circulated around Jack, getting ready to bite him off. Jack stumbled forward, dragging Lydia's sword in his hand as his vision blurred. His body could barely function with the potion. He didn't have the stamina or the constitution to process it and respond properly. This is it. Jack could feel his heart shaking inside his chest. "I'm about to die. I lost this gamble." For a second, Jack looked at falling on his face, and the Dracaina swung her claw at him. Thud. At the last moment, Jack's body tilted to the side and leaned on the sword, and the Dracaina's strike missed him. The Dracaina stared at her claw. "I missed it? Was it luck?" "No, I can feel something magical running inside him." Her senses could pick two magic sources heating up, the artificial stomach and liver implanted inside Jack's body. They started breaking the potion down and stabilizing his blood. Jack started giggling, and the Dracaina stared at him confused. "Yo, gods," he mumbled. "Lydia once told me that you're the ones granting people holy magic. Can't I have some? I'm trying to protect one of your paladins, right?" He barely managed to stand. The Dracaina glared at him with an amused face. "The gods won't respond. They barely reply to those who pray to them, let alone a rogue. I'm sure you're an eyesore standing beside their valiant paladin." She swung her claw at Jack, but he suddenly disappeared. "Nuvlo!" The Dracaina stopped her claw. Where did he go? She gasped for a second, thinking that he actually got some power, but she couldn't be more wrong. Jack stood still in his place, only invisible thanks to the cloak. Chapter 281, Elven Blood, I. The Dracaina turned toward Lydia. Crushing her should force him to show his face. She walked toward her. Jack extended his artificial arm forward, aiming at the Dracaina's collar. Bam! He fired the hook, pulling his body up. The Dracaina heard it and turned her head, opening her jaw to breathe fire. Click! Jack released the latch of the hook and fired another one at her wing, pulling himself to the side and avoiding the flames. Swash! The Dracaina reacted immediately and swung her tail at supersonic speed like a whip. Jack already expected such an attack and was ready to pull down with a third hook. Clang! The tail hit the rope, and Jack's body swung around it, flying into the sky and landing on the Dracaina's neck. "Get into the sky, I will release your bindings," he whispered, and the Dracaina paused for a second. Bam! Jack fired his cannon at her head. "Die, your dragon," he shouted. "You don't want that purple one to hear us, so get fucking flying," he whispered again. The Dracaina spread her wing and blasted into the sky, her whole body burning with crimson flames. Jack noticed that the flames aren't burning below him, and he smiled, plunging his artificial arm into the Dracaina's collar keyhole. "This bastard needs a dragon-sized key. It will take a while to pick it up." The Dracaina nodded, flying left and right as if she was trying to shake him off, but she kept her neck steady so he could work. I hope you're open to helping us kick that purple's ass, Jack said with a smile, feeling a cold sweat down his back. Down on the ground, the purple dragon looked up at the Dracanis taking flight. Such unsteady moves. Reds are really uncivilized, he growled, looking at Aella, smiling. Don't you think so, daughter of Deianira? Aella pulled her steel bow and fired 3 arrows at the dragon's head. Ting, the arrows bounced off his scale, their shafts cracking. Mere arrows can't penetrate a dragon's scales unless you use your magic. That is, he smiled. Come on, show me what you can do. I wonder if her blood is as strong as her mother's. If not, I would have to gamble again with her children. Ella aimed again, charging her arrow with as much wind as possible. Air blast. Bam. The purple dragon lifted his head, blowing a faint gust of plasma forward and melting the arrow. Boom! The compressed air exploded when heated up with the plasma, sending a blast of hot wind and igniting the ground. Look at what you did. Is that all you can do? He smiled, crawling around Aella. Your wind magic is far too weak compared to her. Bam! Aella jumped back and ran toward the walls. She was an archer and must maintain a long distance between her and her target. The purple dragon didn't bother chasing her. To him, she was like a snail trying to get away from a human. Aella took a deep breath and Izdis stared at her. Get into the city. We'll fight him with ballistas, she shouted. That won't work, Aella growled, aiming her bow at the purple dragon. This size, he can stomp the wall with ease. She took a deep breath. I will hold him here. Evacuate everyone from the city? She shouted. With a swift move, Aella reached to her quiver and pulled an arrow and dragged it to her bow. Bam! She fired in the blink of an eye. Bam! 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 Her firing rate slowly increased to an inhuman level, releasing about 4 arrows a second. The soldiers at the wall pulled their bows. Fire, with the archery captain. One of them shouted, firing an arrow. The purple dragon looked at the sky, seeing a rain of arrows coming down. Numbers don't really matter here. He swung his wing, deflecting the arrows back at the city and igniting them ablaze. The arrows, one of the guards cried, looking back at the burning arrows falling on the houses and setting them ablaze. They are burning the city. Aella looked back, shaking. Why did you fire after me? She cried. Images of the burning elvish city flashed in her mind as she saw the people screaming. Look at what you've done. The purple dragon could smell the hesitation on Aella's face and used the chance. Your kind always bring doom. If you surrendered from the start, no one would have to die by burning. He giggled. Shut up, Aella shouted, charging her arrow with wind and firing it at the purple dragon. The dragon smiled. Look. He ignited the arrow and deflected it at the city, causing it to explode in a storm of flames. More damage because of you. He started walking toward the city. You're going with me, and you better surrender before the whole village dies. Clang. A loud sound cracked in front of the gate. The purple dragon looked down and saw Lydia standing there, and her scabbard was stabbed into a stone. You shall not pass, she growled. The healing potion Jack poured on her was enough to wake her up. And if she was awake, she isn't going back on her protection oath. The one who dragged my daughter on the ground, do you think you can stop me? The purple dragon smiled. Or do you intend to cause the people in the city more suffering like that elf did? You don't even have a sword. I don't care, Lydia growled. It's their fault for not running yet. Aella looked at Lydia. Something was off about her. Lydia, run away. It's futile. Lydia stood there in silence, holy magic oozing from her body like a beacon of light. Aella closed her eyes. No, she is right, Arid said it before, but I cast magic after him. Aella pulled a dagger from her waist and smiled. Now, roared, why should I care? She remembered the dead elves' one days I will join you. It might even be today, the purple dragon smiled, feeling the wind magic spiraling around Aella. That's it, let your blood boil. The more concentrated it get, the better. Chapter 282. Elven Blood, i.e. Lydia is right. Aella stared at the dragon, her eyes glowing with emerald green light. This is it. The purple dragon smiled, growling like a hungry monster. "I should drag you out now." Rare breeds are rare to find, as the name implies. Aella jumped from the wall, and the dragon looked at the ground, waiting for her to land. After a second, she didn't hit the ground. What? The purple dragon lifted his head, seeing Aella run midair toward his head, pointing her bow at him. "You can run on air?" He growled, and she fired the arrows. Bam! 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 The dragon saw the green arrows rushing toward him, feeling the magic inside them. He knew they didn't have enough power to harm him, so he didn't bother to dodge roar. The dragon opened his jaw, trying to blow Aella back to the wall. Aella stared at her arrows with green eyes. Wind arrow. The arrows shifted their direction, one headed for the dragon's left eye, while the other two to his nostrils. Pew! The arrows snuck inside the dragon's nose and headed down his windpipe. Aella clenched her fist. Wind blast. Boom. Boom. The two arrows exploded down the dragon's trachea, stunning him for a second. "You little elf." The dragon coughed, Link, an old man with lung problems, growing as he glared at Aella. "Come here." He swung his claw, trying to catch her. Aella stared at the claw approaching her. "It's slow. He wants to catch me alive." Thud! With a swift move, she bent forward, lunging over the dragon's claw and running on his massive arm, pointing her bow at his head. Bam! 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 She fired 3 wind arrows as long. I can feel the wind around me. I sense the attacks the moment they start moving, giving me just enough time to dodge and react. Aella swung her fist down, sending the arrows at the dragon's eyes. Thud! Isdis's knight captain opened the gate, charging with 10 other knights. The dragon is slow. Attack his legs and drop him to the ground. "You fools, stop!" Lydia shouted, but they didn't listen, charging right in. Clap! The dragon's tail cracked like a whip, blasting forward with a shockwave as a dust storm filled the air. "Haynes!" Isdis shouted, looking down for her head knight. Her eyes opened wide, seeing the blood on the walls. Lydia growled, "No even corpses remained. Haynes, where are you?" Isdis screamed. "Dead," Lydia replied with a pained voice. "She can't even move, and even if she did, that dragon would flatten her in an instant." "The only reason that thing isn't killing Aella is because he wants her alive and well," Lydia added. "No way," Isdis gasped, looking at the blood in the walls and recognizing a shard of Haynes's armor. "Don't tell me. Someone drag her away. We can't have her breaking here," Lydia shouted, and the guards dragged Isdis into the city. This dragon was no joke, and unless Erod make it back soon, their chances are as rare as white crows. Aella pulled her bow, jumping from the dragon's arm and running down his back. Wind blade clang. The spell broke right upon contact with the dragon's scales. "You little girl, a feisty elf. How do I capture you without turning you into a corpse?" The dragon turned his head, unbothered by her attacks. The situation was strange, but Aella could feel her position. It was like a human trying to capture a small bug alive and being careful not to crush it between his fingers. "Each time I slip away from an attack, it's because he isn't putting any speed or power into it," she could know. "I need to find a way to use this. How do I hurt him enough to force him to retreat?" "I know. Send weakling to capture weaklings." The dragon growled with a smile, and Aella sensed several small objects moving through the air. She gasped, looking back to see a volley of rusted arrows. "Goblins?" She gasped, seeing an army of goblins emerge from the forest, firing arrows at her. Aella curled into a ball, lifting arms to protect her face. Wind shield. She created a gust of air in front of her to deflect the arrows, but the spells won't last long. After just a second, the spell faded and the arrows hit Aella's arms. She survived the first wave, but her arms were almost unusable. She turned around, looking at the dragon as if he was the biggest threat. Aella gasped, seeing a massive claw rush at her, catching her midair. "Here you go, running around like a scared bird." The dragon smiled, glaring at her. Aella screamed, the arrows digging deeper into her arms as the dragon clenched his claw around her body. "Worry not. I will drag a healer out of the city later. I will make sure you're in top shape before the ritual." He growled, glaring closed at her. "Wait, what's that?" The dragon growled, seeing a glowing mark on her lower neck, right above her chest. "A slave crest. Who, when?" The dragon growled. "No, the smell on you. Who was it? This isn't chromatic," he growled in anger, and Ayla smiled. "Sorry, I didn't want to involve him in this, but he's going to be angry if I don't." She stared at the sky. "Arad!" she screamed, her lungs out, her voice echoing across the forest. "Ra, ra, 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 ra!" An ear-shattering roar filled the sky, shaking the forest as strange magic filled the air. A minute earlier, 169. "Nice." Arad smiled, swinging his sword at one of the goblins. "I didn't let anyone escape. The others are going to be surprised. I hope they don't mind." He took a deep breath, seeing more goblins emerge from deeper into the cave. "Sidzil!" Arad stopped, feeling something burn in his chest. "Arad!" He could hear a faint call from the distance. The wind carried Ayla's voice all the way to him. "Nodal imsp... Nodal Ayla?" He turned around, seeing tiny specks of green light. "She's in danger. Don't let us fall into the wrong hands." A faint voice came from the specks of light. Creak, veins bulged on Arad's neck as his eyes glue a mixture of purple, red, and yellow light. Chapter 283, Cursed Dragon. Arad stood between goblins as they growled, his eyes glowing red, purple, and yellow. Black scales extended through his arms to his neck as hair covered his forearms and chin. The blood magic around him concentrated, sucking the goblin's blood like there was no tomorrow. Crack. He transformed inside the tiny cave, destroying it from the inside as he clawed his way to the surface, roaring his lungs. The whole forest was shocked. Prey and predators alike hid in their holes, avoiding the unleashed monster. Then Purple Dragon stared at the sky, hearing the roar booming above the clouds. A dragon! He glared down at Ayla. He was here all along? Burn him to ash? Ayla screamed, and Arad blasted through the clouds, opening his jaw. Flames gushed from Arad's mouth and nose, concentrating into a long blue white of light. The purple dragon opened his jaw, aiming at Arad. "You're awfully small," he growled, breathing a blast of purple plasma. The two breaths collided mid-air, and Arad's breath quickly lost, getting consumed by the hot plasma. Void step. Arad disappeared as the plasma breath covered him and appeared on the purple dragon's arm, slashing his thumb and snatching Ayla before the dragon could react. "Roar!" The purple dragon roared, hesitant to smack Arad, who held Ayla. Void step. Arad didn't wait and teleported to the purple dragon's face, swinging his claw at his left eye and ripping it off. Void step. Arad teleported back to the gate and landed on the ground beside Lydia. "He doesn't want to harm me. Let me stay on your back," Ayla said, pulling the arrows stuck on her forearm with her teeth. "What are you?" The purple dragon growled, glaring at Arad, holding his eye. "Those scales and horns, you're no black dragon." Arad didn't care or bother to reply. All he cared about was ripping this thing into shreds. Red veins bulged in the purple dragon's healthy eye, causing it to hurt and bleed. "You? What are you?" Thud. Arad appeared on the dragon's head, snap. He plunged his claw into the eye, ripping it off. The vision wasn't a dragon's sole sensory input, and the purple dragon wasn't that easy to drop. He jumped back, lifting his arms. Heatwave Arad could sense the compressed magic rushing in the air, and he lifted his arms to protect Ayla. The scorching heat burned his scales and blasted him back. Yini Wung Clack. Arad's wounds instantly healed with the blood he had stored, and he opened his jaw. A cold gust of wind gathered around his head, and a blast of frozen air gushed forth in an ice storm. The purple dragon got hit chest first, and he recoiled back like an only man getting splashed with ice-cold water. "Fire and cold, you're a magic one?" he growled, his eyes healing out of nowhere. Arad didn't sense any holy or blood magic. The purple dragon must be using something else to regenerate. "You're a magic dragon, aren't you? What is your kind doing here? I thought you idiots barely care about the world." The purple dragon growled. Crack. Arid walked forward, his claws melting the ground into the void, ripping apart as gravity magic lifted the stones into the air. "Get your claws off, my woman," Arid roared, gravity magic gathering in his throat. This wasn't a normal breath. Nothing like what the purple dragon had seen before in his life. The gravity pulled stones, trees, air, and debris close to Arad's jaw, crushing the together as the gravity magic boiled out of Arad's jawbone. The purple dragon spread his wings, jumping into the sky to avoid the hit. He didn't know what the breath do and didn't want to find out. Boom! Arad unleashed the gravity breath, and the debris flew toward the purple dragon, chasing him across the sky. "Gravity, it's following me," the purple dragon growled. "But it's only debris." He swung his claw, shattering the line chasing him. Zon Arad appeared above the dragon, opening his jaw. Clap. A dark gust of light flashed down, hitting the dragon's back. The void ate all the air around the dragon's wings, creating a vacuum and sucking them back more than they could handle. The purple dragon could feel the immense stress of his wing joins as the vacuum pulled them back. They almost got dislocated. The dragon spun around, opening his jaw to blast Arad with Aella. He could always search for another century. "Where did he go? Wait! He can teleport!" The dragon couldn't find Arad behind Zon. Arad appeared at the dragon's neck, biting his jugular vein and sucking the blood out. It was then that he could smell it, vampirism and lycanthropy at the same time. This little fucker, he's cursed to the bones. The purple dragon fell down, swinging his claw and smacking Arad away. It was like a human fighter facing a toddler that is a vampire. A werewolf is fast and can teleport, and also use different elements of magic. Bam! The purple dragon landed, glaring at Arad. I can't kill him without holy magic. He'll keep regenerating and attacking back. He glared at Aella above Arad's back. I almost hit her with him earlier. Should I really give up on this one and kill her? He regenerated his neck, glaring at Arad. "Who the hell are you, cursed dragon?" The purple dragon growled. "He won't die even if I blast him with a breath. I will only kill her, so going all out is out of the question. I need to separate them." In the back, Eris finally regenerated her head and stared at the fight with blurry vision. "Gah!" she gasped, recognizing Arad and screaming, "Father, run!" She shouted her lungs out. "What?" The purple dragon looked at her. It's the one Clog came to protect. She must be coming toward here. She knew that the ancient green dragon had an interest in Arad of some kind, and she didn't want to test that interest limit. The purple dragon glared at Arad. "So this is the fucker that bitch is interested in. I can see why it's a rare find," he growled. "I'm not leaving without that elf. Surrender, or I will burn the city to ash," the purple dragon growled. In the days of the Holy Order, a voice came from the gate, and everyone looked there. It was Lydia, in the heart of the holy seat, and in the name of the lords. She started singing, and everyone could hear a faint witch coming from the sky. "There's a foe of 1,000 swords." She looked up, and so did everyone. Falling from the heavens. Swash! They could see a giant ball of flames flying down the Dracaina with Jack smiling on her head. Chapter 284, Imposter. "It's coming," the purple dragon gasped, staring at the sky. A wave of bloodlust rushed down from the sky. No, it's not the Dracaina. It's the human on her back. The purple dragon's vision focused on Jack's smiling face. "I can feel his bloodlust from here. He isn't coming to fight. He's charging toward death." Bam! The purple dragon spread his wings and jumped to the side. There is nothing more dangerous than a man who doesn't fear death. "You won't see the light of day again," Jack growled. "Your fate has been decided." She shifted the Dracaina's direction by pulling on her horns. The purple dragon opened his mouth, charging a plasma breath to blast the Dracaina alongside Jack. Crack! Arad and Aella teleported to the purple dragon's neck and punched his lower jaw closed. The plasma concentrated inside the purple dragon's lung, exploding inside his throat. The guards jumped from the wall, hiding behind it as they saw the burning Dracaina diving headfirst toward the ground. A ball of death spiraled toward the ground, and the purple dragon expanded his wings to fly away. Clench, Arad bit the dragon by the neck, sucking on his blood like a vacuum cleaner. "Let go of me, you little bastard." The purple dragon growled, "That Dracaina intends to blast the whole place. What did that rogue do to her to charge like that? That's it. Charge downward as fast as you can. Don't give him a chance to think of anything else." Jack whispered to the Dracaina, "Leave intimidation to me, just as I can make people ignore me in the streets. I can make them focus on me. Imposter thieves can blend between people to make themselves unnoticed, a crucial ability that helps them survive in their harsh line of work. So, what if a rogue broke all of the ability's rules, using it to stand out instead of blending in? I'm not a part of the herd. The herd is a part of me. I'm the center of focus and the main character in this world. Beware, I'm coming." Jack's eyes glared down at the purple dragon. The pressure, fear, and danger generated by the Dracaina's suicidal dive got channeled through Jack, firing directly at the purple dragon, creating an illusion of two massive equal threats, the Dracaina and Jack, the imposter. Swash. The Dracaina reached the purple dragon, about to hit him head first. Jack pulled her horns as hard as he could, and she opened her wings, shifting direction. Gee! The purple dragon gasped, realizing he was tricked, but it was too late. The Dracaina's right claw headed toward his head at a supersonic speed. Thwack! The Dracaina's claw smacked into the dragon's head like a lion hitting a rabbit, sending him rolling across the forest with a fire blast. Bam! The purple dragon smacked into a mountain, falling to the ground. He opened his eyes and saw the Dracaina rushing at him, enraged. "You bitch dare fight back again?" He growled, opening his jaw. Thud. Arad teleported above the purple dragon's head, swinging his claws down at his eyes. Stab. The purple dragon roared as Arad gouged his eyes again. Ice Fist. Arad channeled as much cold magic as he could, freezing the purple dragon's eyes and preventing them from regenerating as the Dracaina charged Vroom Im. An ear-shattering rumbling raged from the Dracaina's chest. She was going all out. I waited for a long time for this moment. The moment that I can gouge your guts out. Crack. She bites the purple dragon from the neck, swinging her claw at his guts. Clang, her fist hit his stomach, but couldn't pierce through. He was far tougher than her. She didn't care, swinging her neck back and lifting him up. Clark. She smacked the purple dragon back to the ground as hard as she could, clawed him back into the sky with a second hit. Vroom! A rumbling rushed from the purple dragon's chest, and his body ignited in purple plasma. The heat wave caused a shock wave to expand, hitting the Dracaina and sending Jack falling from her back. Flap! Arad flew in, catching him before he could hit the ground and flying back to the city. Crack! Arad landed in front of the city gate and dropped Jack and Ayla. "You two wait here," he growled. Ayla and Jack looked at the mountains. Vroom! They could hear the dragon's wings rumbling from here, seeing the purple dragon punch the Dracaina in the head, her body bouncing from the ground as if it was a mattress. Crack! The ground cracked all the way to the city as the dragon's roars filled the sky, turning it red from the raging flames burning the forest. Two adult dragons fighting to the death. It's better to take the chance and run away. "You don't want to stand between them?" Mom suggested, but Arad wasn't going to listen. "I'm going to kill that purple bastard," Arad growled. And Ayla glared at him. "That's insane. Stay here or let's fly back to Alina. Look at them. You will die in the chaos." She cried. Mom and Ayla were right. Arad knew that he could only dodge their attacks thanks to Void Step, and that he could only tank their heat because of the vampire regeneration. And he can only see their movements thanks to lycanthropy. "Eno Echo, I can do it," Arad growled. "No, it isn't like that." Vroom! A rumbling raged from Arad's chest and his body started getting consumed by the void. That bastard laid his hand on Ayla. "Why is he still alive?" "What?" Ayla gasped. "Arad," Jack sighed. "I know you're pissed off, but don't get reckless. Not like I'm the one to speak. I riled that red one." Zon Arad disappeared, appearing in the sky where he glared at the two dragons fighting. "I need to strike when he's distracted by the Dracaina and suck his blood dry till the last drop. Fiend, if you want to fight, But that Dracaina won't last long. You better strike early. Don't worry, Mom. I won't miss my chance. That thing is mere food now. Arad growled. A vampire dragon is on the hunt for blood. Chapter 285, Second Element, V-Room. Arad flapped his wings faster than the eye could see, blasting toward the purple dragon. Crack! The purple dragon shifted his body to the side, leaping back and swinging his tail. Zon, Arad, teleported forward, dodging the strike and opening his jaw, aiming at the purple dragon's neck. Thud, he latched into the back of the dragon's neck. Get away from me. You little pest, the purple dragon growled, keeping an eye on the charging Dracaina. I'm no pest. My name is Arad, and I'm here to, he smiled, eat you bam bam. The purple dragon dodged the Dracaina's claw strike and punched her in the face. Eat me? Stop fucking around, the purple dragon roared, his body exploding in plasma and setting the forest around him ablaze. Infinite, void Arad covered himself with the void, sucking the plasma into his stomach as he bit the purple dragon. I'm not letting go, he growled. Crack! Arad's claws latched into the dragon's neck, securing him in place. Swash! The purple dragon lifted his claw, trying to grab Arad and pull him away. Thud! The Dracaina caught his arm. You aren't touching him while I'm alive, she growled, punching the purple dragon's guts and tail slapping him. The purple dragon recoiled back, growling, You bitch, scram. He swung his claw, smacking her down and opening his jaw. Crackle. Lightning crackled from his fangs, exploding into a brilliant flash. A purple dragon is the child of red and blue dragons. He can use both fire and lightning or mix them for the much more powerful plasma. Since the Dracaina is immune to flame and heat, there isn't much of a reason to hit directly with plasma and consume too much energy. Lighting alone is enough to damage her. The Dracaina growled, jumping away. She wanted to use a breath, but knew her flames were useless against such a monster. He's immune to both fire and lightning. The Dracaina rushed at the purple dragon, swinging her claw. Thud. He caught her strike and opened his jaw, zapping her again. You stupid bitch, you will only die. Red has no power over purple dragons. The Dracaina recoiled back from the shock. At this rate, the same will happen. She remembered her husband and children getting slaughtered by the purple dragon. I have to kill this bastard, but I don't have the power to do it. She clenched her teeth. Even with my husband, we failed to slay him. What power could I have over him? She stood, swinging her claw again and grabbing him before he could hit Arad. You persistent, the purple dragon growled. Crack! He punched her jaw, sending her rolling. The red Dracaina lay on the ground, her vision blurring as she lost her energy. We reds can't beat the purples. It's what fate decided, and there is nothing that we can do about it. Something clicked in her head. She glared at the sky. Yeah, I'm dying. I wonder what's over there. 3. Mokel, you chromatics never pray, don't you? The red Dracaina heard a voice booming in her head. I won't grant you any power, but I will tell you one thing. You create flame by generating heat. Don't eat the flames. Eat the heat itself. Crack! The Dracaina opened her eyes, standing and looking at the purple dragon. In Tiamat's name, I'm going to fight to the death, she growled, opening her jaw. The purple dragon giggled. The useless goddess, go ahead and die, vroom. The Dracaina started sucking the flames on the forest, draining all the heat around her and compressing it in her chest. It doesn't matter how much you charge. I'm immune to flames. The purple dragon grabbed Arad and started trying to pull him away from his neck. Crack! The purple dragon's eyes opened wide as his leg froze. Cold, cold is the absence of heat, so when the Dracaina ate it all, the forest started to freeze. Sorcerers can develop a second element if they are lucky, which means the source of their power can do the same, given the same luck. Such second elements are in no way random. Each of them corresponds to the starting element in some way. Fire cold. Cold fire, lightning magnet, acid base, poison, antidotes. Flap. The purple dragon flapped his wings, opening his jaw and breathing a blast of plasma to heat the place, since when you bitch knew magic. He thought it was a spell, not an innate power. The purple dragon glared at the Dracaena. B must deal with her before getting back to Arad. She won't let him touch him. Boom. A purple light flashed through the ice, and a hand laid on Arad's head. So it was really you. Eris had regenerated her head and joined the fight again. Roar! The Dracaena opened her jaw, rushing to swat Eris off Arad's back. But the purple dragon extended his arms, keeping her away. Eris, pull him away from me. I will keep her at bay, he shouted, and a purple blast of plasma gushed from Eris's back. Come off! You weird black dragon! Her fingers dug deep into Arad's skull, pulling off the purple dragon's neck. Bam! Arad and Eris flew to the ground, crashing into the forest and dropping some trees as they rolled away from the dragons. It's you again, Arad growled, and Eris conjured her spear. Thwack! She smacked him on the head, rattling his bones. Stay down, Eris growled, expanding her plasma and bat wings. You aren't interfering with their fight. It's a bad idea to fight her in my dragon form. I'm a big target for her magic, and I can't keep an eye on her. The larger you are, the harder it's to deal with fast and small creatures. Arad shifted back to his humanoid form and glared at Eris. Fine, I will kill you first. He pulled his sword, and Eris smiled. Try it if you can. She spun her spear and lunged at Arad. Clang. Arad swung his sword down, cutting her plasma spear in half, leaving a black crescent trail after his slash Chapter 286 heavy weight. Eris gasped as her plasma spear exploded in a purple spark, and she stared down at Arad's sword. It's heavy! Crack! Arad twisted his wrist, swinging up at her head. Thud. She jumped back, dodging the strike with a stern face. You're faster than before. Zone! Arad wasn't in the mood to speak. He teleported right to her face, grabbing her by the neck. Crack! Eris grabbed his wrist, feeling her neck and throat cracking. He's crushing my neck. Swash! With her left hand, she conjured around a spear and hit Arad's arm, exploding it into ash. Arad swung his leg, kicking Eris in the guts and sending her flying. Creak! Eris stopped, glaring at him with blood dripping from her mouth. She smiled. You bastard, that hurt? She growled, and her dented stomach healed in the blink of an eye. Crack! Arad's arm regrew immediately, and he glared at Eris. Get out of my way. I'm here to kill him. That's my father, and I'm not letting you go to him. Eris pointed her spear at Arad. You die here, fresh blood. Eris and Arad glared at each other, and their magic slowly expanded. Bam. Eris made the first move, pointing her spear at Arad and firing a plasma ball. Thud. Arad stomped the ground, swinging his sword down, void dragon claw. He sliced the plasma ball in half, and each part flew to the side and burned a trail in the forest. Swash! Eris flew after the plasma ball and faced Arad, swinging her spear as his blade was down. Arad tried to lift his sword in time. Crack! Eris stepped on his sword, pinning it on the ground as her spear approached his neck. Arad let go of the sword, bending his body back to dodge the spear thrust. At the same time, he swung his right leg up. Crack! Arad's foot kicked Eris in the chin, rattling her skull. Arad exhaled Wyrmwolf's uncanny physique. He balanced on his left hand, swinging his left foot and kicking Eris in the side, and with a swift move, he stood back up and punched her once with his left hand, spinning for another one with his right fist in the blink of an eye. Gush! Eris laughed blood, feeling her lungs shake inside her chest. The punches were strangely heavy, cracking her ribs with ease. He's a true dragon, and is heavier than me. She gasped, taking a deep breath and swinging her spear at him. Thud! Thud! With swift moves, Eris trusted 2 holes in Arad's torso, and without a word she touched his chest with her palm. Plasma blast. Boom! A fiery purple explosion sent Arad flying back, rolling on the ground, but he stood immediately. Is this your toy? Eris smiled, lifting Arad's sword. It's mine now. Should I melt it? Arad opened his palm, gravity magic. The sword rattled in Eris's palm and suddenly flew at a blinding speed toward Arad's hand. Says who? Arad caught the sword and lifted his hand. Wait, what? Eris gasped, crack. Arad stomped the ground, throwing the sword back at her. Clang, Eris swung her spear, deflecting the sword. You madman, what are you doing? Arad opened his palm, gravity magic. Swash, he pulled the sword back into his hand and stared at Eris. Ranged attack. Arad started spamming, throwing his sword at her over and over, always pulling it back with gravity magic like a boomerang. Stop it, Eris shouted, opening her mouth and charging a breath. Roar, a large blast of plasma expanded from her mouth, charring the ground into ash as it accelerated toward Arad. Arad opened his jaw, releasing a blast of the dark void, erasing her breath. Time to end this, Arad growled as Eris stared in shock at her breath disappearing. Endasnovel.com, Gravity Magic. Expand. A pulse of purple magic expanded from Arad's body, and Eris started floating. What? No gravity? Eris growled, flapping her wings. Then I will fly away. You aren't going anywhere. Arad smiled, lifting his hand's infinite void. His body turned dark, covered with the void, and he started sucking the air like a vacuum. Eris felt her body getting violently sucked toward Arad, and she had nothing to hold on to. Swash. In the blink of an eye, he pulled her toward him. Eris lifted her spear, thrusting at Arad's face. Arad shifted his head, dodging the thrust, and swung his fist at her. She lifted her arms, blocking Arad's punch with a boxer guard. Crack. Eris felt her arms cracking, and Arad's punch sent her flying back. It only took a second, but her body got pulled back toward Arad as he didn't stop. Gravity magic, expand, and infinite void. Eris glared at him. Again? He's pulling me in. Crack. Arad punched her again, sending her flying toward the trees before pulling her once more. Bam, crack, bam, crack, bam. After several punches, Arad pulled Eris one last time, transforming back into his draconic form. Crack. He swung his claw down, pinning her on the ground. This is the end half-blood, she growled, recalling how she called him fresh blood. Eris coughed blood, glaring at Arad with a smile. Even though I'm stronger than you, I can't push you around with my weight. When two beings of equal power clash, the lighter one gets pushed back. The same happened with Arad and Eris, even though she's stronger, the exhaustion from Lydia's fight, and the fact Arad weighs several times as much as her. She didn't have a chance at knocking him out. These lural Arad pushed his claw at the ground, crack. Eris's body cracked and he turned toward the purple dragon. She's dead, but I can't eat her since she's a vampire. I need to get to that purple dragon as soon as possible. He could remember the last time he tried to suck a vampire's blood. He transformed back into his humanoid form. I must sneak between the Dracina's attacks and bite the bastard's neck. Swash. Eris's body levitated behind Arad, and she opened her mouth, showing her fangs. Arad immediately sensed her. She pretended to die. He turned around, swinging his fist. Iris charged forward, dodging Arad's fist and biting him on the neck. Chapter 287, Exchanged Bites. Arad growled, feeling Eris's fangs dig deep into his neck. You still had it in you. He glared down at her, opening his mouth. Crack. Arad bit her neck as well, and she gasped. Clench. He clenched his fist and swung at her side. Thud. Eris deflected Arad's fist and conjured a short version of her spear, more like a shiv, and thrust at his liver bam. Arad knocked it out of her hand and grabbed her wrist, crushing it in his palm. Thud. Eris jumped, wrapping her legs around his waist and expanding her wings, dropping Arad to the ground. Crack. The moment Arad fell to the ground. He pushed with his hand, trying to stand back up. Fwash! Purple flames consumed Eris's body as she growled, unleashing her plasma to burn Arad to a crisp. But she could feel his hand grabbing her hair from the back, pulling violently. He didn't want to sit and watch her burn him to ash. Iris clenched her teeth harder so he won't pull her head away from his neck, grabbed him by the ear and started pulling. Arad could feel that her hair will rip off if he used more strength. He gave up on her hair and pulled his arms back, sliding them between his and her chest, and started pushing. Eris growled into Arad's neck, feeling it hard to breathe or swallow. His thick arms crushed her ribcage with extreme force. Eris swung her arm down between Arad's legs, grabbing him by the jewels and pulling out, trying to rip them off or at least force Arad to let go of her neck. She gasped, feeling them like leather in her palm, unmoving. No matter how much force she used, they didn't rip off, and Arad didn't show any reaction at all. Arad expanded his wings, using them to push his body up to stand, and Eris's chest cracked her first broken rib. She choked on the blood from Arad's neck, and for a second her grip waned. Flap. Arad flapped his wing, flying to the sky with her attached to him like a leech. Eris looked at the ground, moving away, and growled, clenching her fists harder and pulling on Arad's jewels even more, trying to rip and twist them to see if they tear off. Arad flew just a few meters and dived back down, crashing on the ground with Eris below him. Eris expanded her wings, twisting them below her back to absorb the shock of the impact, and then increased her plasma output, shining brightly in the dark forest. Arad finally relaxed his hands. She was burning too fast for him to keep a steady max output, but that didn't mean he didn't have another plan. Arad expanded his hands and hugged her, dye encased in layer upon layer of ice. Crack. Eris gasped, feeling her body freezing as her plasma faded rapidly. Ice shards grew from Arad's body and pierced her skin, freezing her muscles and blood. She didn't sit there and take. On the other hand, she started trying to increase her plasma output to melt the ice. The plasma burned from Eris's body and rushed at Arad's ice, melting it in the blink of an eye. He wasn't proficient with cold magic, so he lost the battle. Arad grunted, noticing his ice melting. He had tried his best plans, and none of them worked to get Eris away from his body. This woman was more keep to stick to him than his clothes. Thud. Thud. An armored woman jumped through the wood, thrusting her sword at Eris's head. Die, Isdis, shouted, ice forming on her blade. Eris gasped, feeling the ice magic to be more refined than that of Arad. She would freeze her head before she could melt it. She opened her mouth and kicked Arad in the chest, jumping back and dodging the thrust. Why are you running? Isdis rushed after Eris, swinging her sword. Eris growled. You weak bitch, why won't you die? She growled, lifting her hand to blast her with plasma. Thud. An arrow flew from the trees, piercing Eris's wrist. She gasped, it's that elf. Where is she? She looked around, searching for Ayla. Pew, pew, pew. 3 arrows emerged from the trees, and Eris weaved between them. Show yourself, she shouted. Pew, 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 pew. 12 more arrows emerged, and the tree arrows that Eris dodged changed their direction, flying back at her. Eris dodged the arrows, but they kept chasing her, guided by wind magic. Thud, thud, thud. Isdis charged in, prepared to die, swinging her sword at Eris's neck. Clang. Eris deflected Isdis's attack and was about to burn her to ash, but the arrows interrupted her. I can't attack. It takes a lot of time to dodge those arrows, and I don't want to know what will they do once they hit. Clang! Clang! Clang. Isdis swung her sword at Eris, but all of her attacks got deflected. She wasn't fast or strong enough to be a threat. Thud. Arad stood, grasping his sword. He didn't want to waste stamina on Eris, but he doesn't seem to have a choice in the matter. She's too stubborn to die. Vroom. Veins bulged on Arad's neck and arms as he pulled the sword back, taking a deep breath. Action surge! Arad swung his sword downward as Isdis jumped out of the way. Clang! Eris conjured a spear and deflected his strike to the side. Fast! She cried inside. Clang! Arad swung again, but she blocked his attack. But I can melt that thing. She smiled inside. Arad could see the edge of his sword turning red. Going further will risk damaging the blade. So he dropped it and clenched his fist, black scales covering his forearm as claws emerged from his fingertips. Arad's fist flew toward Eris's face at a tremendous speed, and she ducked down. Does he think his fists are more durable than a sword? Chapter 288. True nature, Bam. Arad's fist flew right beside Eris's head, cutting a strand of her hair. "He's fast." She jumped back and lifted her spear, seeing Arad still after her with his fists. Clang! Clang! Arad fired 2 other punches, and Eris deflected them with a spear spin. But she failed to reach in time to the next fist, getting hit in the face. Crack! Eris could feel her nose crack. Arad wasn't holding back. He wanted her down so he could go finish her father off. Pew! Pew! 2 arrows flew from the sky, piercing Eris's feet and pinning her to the ground. "Gah!" Eris gasped. "I can't run away, and my magic is running out. As a vampire, he's weaker than me. I thought he was stronger, being a true dragon, but I miscalculated and ended up damaging myself." Arad still had 2 punches coming hot, hitting Eris in the face a second time, spinning her body sideways and ripping the arrows from the ground. "Ra! Kai! Kai! Roar!" Arad roared, swinging the last fist at her guts as hard as he could. Boom! A shockwave exploded as his fist pushed deeper into Eris's stomach, deflecting her body back like a soft ball of clothes. Izdis gasped, seeing Eris's body fly several meters into the air. Her eyes shifted toward Arad, sweating. Where did that black dragon go? She gasped, not wanting him to hear the answer. If what was in her mind is right, she could end up dead soon. Bam! The ground shook, throwing Izdis into the sky, and she fell back on her face. Looking forward, she could see the 2 massive dragons wrestling at the mountain foot. Arad grunted, his skin turning black, covered with scales. Izdis sat on her knees, shaking. She could feel it from her spot. Arad was angry, and his bloodlust is out of the roof. The only thing preventing her from crying is that anger is directed toward someone else.
Bam!
She looked to the side as Arad's long black tail coiled around her, and a rumbling dragon growled in front of her. It was him, and she guessed it, since they had the same name. "Get away from here. This forest won't exist by the sunrise." Arad growled, "Novil." Izdis shouted, and Arad expanded his wings, blasting into the sky and leaving her coughing in the dust. He's a dragon. No wonder he was so strong. She looked at Arad flying, remembering when he first showed up. This wasn't a potential S-rank adventurer. It's an S-rank monster playing a pretend-to-be human game, and it's dangerous. When people like her see Arad, they expect a powerful individual to look up to, someone they could expect great deeds and morals. That is wrong. No one knew they were dealing with a whole dragon. The wrong word or action could get them killed, and now Izdis couldn't help but remember her father. He might have refused Arad's noble title with how stupid it looked to expect a human to punch a vampire. But now she knew that wasn't some empty claim. Izdis sighed. "We can't expect a human mind from a dragon. I should tell father to be careful dealing with Arad from now on." Pew! An arrow passed beside her face, cutting a wound on her cheek. "You could start by not delivering that information, could you?" Izdis gasped, stepping back. "Aela, is that you?" She looked around. "Won't it be better if I informed father? He's the king, and I'm sure it will make Arad's life easier." Izdis smiled. Pew! An arrow flew from the trees, piercing Izdis's shoulder. "I don't care what you or him are. Arad doesn't want his identity disclosed." Izdis gasped for air, grabbing the arrow on her shoulder and growling. "Firing an arrow on a princess. You have some guts, but won't it be better if I spoke with Arad about it?" She looked at the trees with a smile. Gush! Izdis suddenly started suffocating. No matter how she tried to breathe, she couldn't thud. Aela jumped from a tree and stared at the suffocating Izdis. A corpse can't speak. "And don't expect the luxury of breathing around me." She walked with her bow aimed at Izdis. "You died in the dragon fight, crushed in an unfortunate accident." Thud! Aela felt a hand tapping on her shoulder. She turned around, swinging her dagger, only to see Jack standing there, pointing at his neck. "Sorry. It blocks everyone around me." Aela gasped, releasing her magic and letting Jack and Izdis breathe. "Let her live. We can use her." Jack gasped, looking at the sky. "We talk later." Let's get away before the dragons fall to the ground. He pulled Aella by the hand. Fine, Aella sighed. Rushing after Jack, Isdis gasped for air, staring at Aella. That wasn't very nice of you. She ran after them, thud. Jack stopped, seeing Eris bleeding on the ground. Forget about her. She will die soon, Isdis growled. That woman is a vampire. Did you? How fast she regenerated. She would get up soon, Jack replied. Aella pulled a dagger from her wrist. Need to finish her then? No, Jack shook his head, rushing to carry Eris on his back. We aren't going to get a word out of the big one in the sky, so this woman will do. He smiled. We can interrogate her later. We can't keep her tied, Aella stared at him. I have the chains Arid was tied with by the dragon cult. Those should keep her purple magic down. Jack lifted Eris and looked at Aella. We need to get to the city first, though. Let's hope she doesn't wake up before that, then. Aella sheathed her dagger, and the three ran back toward the cityandusnovel.com. I can take custody of her if you want. Isdis stared at Jack and Aella. No, we will keep her, and nothing is decided until Arad is back. Jack looked at the sky. I understand, but Isdis looked back with a worried face. Can he win? Chapter 289, Purple Slithering. Roar! The Dracaina roared, swinging her claw at the purple dragon. Bam! He blocked the claw and smacked her on the head with his tail. Know your place? He growled but found his claw freezing. Damn it. The purple dragon grunted as purple plasma burst from beneath his scales, melting the ice. Clap. As he glared at the red Dracaina, he heard something explode in the distance like thunder. He turned his head, only to see a glance of Arad flying toward his face. It's you again? He gasped, and Arad swung his claw. The purple dragon swung his wing down to smack Arad to the ground. Zon. Arad teleported behind the dragon's massive wing and swung at his eyes, gouging it out. Arad only went after the soft spots, the eyes and throat that he was sure his claws would cut. The purple dragon growled, recoiling back, like a man facing a squirrel with rabies. The purple dragon didn't want anything with a half-vampire weird dragon. The purple dragon swung his claw, trying to catch Arad and pull him away. Arad extended his claws, grasping into the dragon's neck and running across his back. Stop moving, you little bastard, he growled. Bam! The Dracaina rushed in, hitting the purple dragon with a claw to the face from the blind spot that Arad left. The purple dragon growled, and the Dracaina bit him by the neck. Flap. The purple dragon expanded his wings. Vroom! They stared, flapping faster than the eye could see. The Dracaina got blasted back, and the dragon flew to the sky with Arad on his back. Gravity magic, Arad growled, almost getting blown away, but he managed to hold on thanks to his claws and gravity magic. We came here to slay goblins. The purple dragon stopped, hearing Arad growl on his back. I wanted to have a quiet quest. Why do I have to fight a dragon here? Why would I care? Get away from me. The purple dragon growled, trying to reach Arad on his back, but he wasn't flexible enough. Arad lifted his front claws and growled, Die and get out of my way. Arad roared, his voice reaching the ground as he swung his claws at the base of the purple dragon's wings. Void Dragon Claw, Void Dragon Claw clang. Arad clawed at the purple dragon's back, slowly plucking his scales like feathers, digging deep into his flesh and cutting the tendons around his wing muscles. He then used the void to suck the blood directly into his stomach. The Dracaina looked up, seeing the purple dragon's wings going limp as he fell toward the ground. Crack! When the purple dragon crashed, the whole ground quaked, sending a crack all the way back to the city and shattering one of the walls. Bam! Arad walked over to the purple dragon standing on its chest, roaring, Get away from him! He isn't dead yet! The Dracaina growled, rushing to pull Arad away. The purple dragon opened his eyes, swung his tail, and swatted Arad away like a fly. Swash! The wounds on his back healed, and he flew away as fast as he could. Crack! Arad hit the mountainside and activated Void Step. He instantly teleported back the purple dragon's tail and bit him. The purple dragon turned his head, opening his jaw to chop Arad down. Bam! The Dracaina flew in, swinging her claw, cutting the purple dragon's tail and catching Arad. Let him go. We don't want to kill him here, she growled, and the purple dragon flew away. Crack. Arad bit the Dracaina's hand, growling, Let me kill him. Don't do it. He will explode upon death. You will kill everyone around here, she growled, glaring at the purple dragon flying away. What? Arad looked at her. All adult dragons store a lot of elemental magic inside their bodies. That power is released upon death. She looked at Arad. If you kill him, plasma will flood the whole forest and probably erase the village off the map. Arad finally stopped moving. The bastard, one day I will eat him alive. The Dracaina released Arad, and he landed on the ground, growling like a hungry monster. The Dracaina sighed, sitting down like a cat. The fight is over for now, but he will show up again. She smiled. Who was he? Aran the purple dragon. The Dracaina smiled. He found that fire gets hotter when mixed with pure air, so he was hunting the Deianira family for their wind spirit bloodline. Deianira? Aella? So that's why he needed her. Arad sat and looked up at the Dracaina. That's what I know. He didn't speak much about his plans, only ordered people to do things. She sighed and looked at Arad. You can call me Ignis of the Red Mountain. She smiled. Arad Orion. Arad smiled. Nice to meet you, she sniffed Arad, albeit I find it hard to accept you killed my son. Arad froze, glaring at her. Your son? Remembered the dragon they massacred a while ago? I'm not angry. She stared at Arad. It's natural for the young ones to fight for land and sometimes die. He just wasn't strong enough. You should be angry, Arad sighed. I would be angry if an older dragon killed him. But since you were younger than him, it would have been a shame that he lost to you. She looked at Arad, and then back at the city. Fine, Arad sighed, unable to understand how the Dracaina's mind worked. But you're stronger than I expected, she smiled. Are you a young dragon? A very young one, Arad replied, and she looked at him, stunned. She then grabbed Arad, lifting him up and looking closer at him. Aren't you a bit too big for a very young dragon? And those scales, you aren't a black or a purple dragon. She scratched her head. And you used an ice breath and some weird magic? Are you a magic dragon? Yeah, a void dragon. Arad growled. Put me down. Void, that explains it. She looked at him with a smile. Bidnaville, Chapter 290. We still have a nest to deal with Puff. Arad shifted back into his humanoid form and sat on the ground, staring at Ignis. Don't you have a humanoid form? Ignis smiled sadly. I don't. We chromatic aren't proficient at polymorph magic by nature. You would be hard-pressed to find one with a decent human form. Is that so? He sighed. You remind me of Clog. Said she can't transform into a human. Ignis blinked. I heard Eris speak something of that matter before. How did you even meet that monster? Eris at Rita. Arad looked at Ignis Nomvor. No, I'm talking about Clog. That Dracaina has a rotten personality. How did you even catch her interest? Ignis sighed. Her attention cannot be good. I can't see that from the times I met her. Arad scratched his head. Well, Clog's worst trait is her hobby of spying on people. And don't forget how pitiful she can be, going all the way to spend years planning to watch someone she hates regret his life. Ignis looked at the night sky. I met her once in a forest. She came once when I got attacked by griffins, and lastly in Rita when I faced a man called Connor. Arad looked forward with a stern face. She's clearly spying on you all day long, Ignis sighed. Isn't that right, Clog? She looked around. Far away, Clog turned her magic crystal off and looked away. The kobold standing beside her sighed. She called you out and told you it will happen one day. She has no way to prove it, so it won't count, Clog growled. Why would she spy on me? It's not like I have anything she wants, or should I say can't take. Arad asked with a puzzled face. Ignis smiled. I don't know if I should call this a good trait, but she at least only watches for fun, nothing more. She looked at Arad. From the centuries of her spying on people, she barely affected their lives in any way and only saw them as entertainment. You have no way of knowing that. She only watches important people like nobles, kings, and queens. The more intrigue and drama happen in your life, the more likely she would spy on you to watch and enjoy the show. And a rare void dragon punching werewolves, vampires, and dragons is something she could enjoy watching. Arad sighed. I don't really mind, as she does no harm and some help from time to time. I won't lie. She saved me and everyone's lives back in Rita. She's like a fail-safe, a net we can fall back into. Arad stood patting his shoulder to get the dust off. Should we get back to the city? He looked at Ignis. I would need to leave. I owe you and that rogue a big one. If you ever need help around the Red Mountain, call me and I will show up. She expanded her wings. Farewell, little worm. She flapped her wings, flying into the night sky. Arad turned toward the city. Void step, thud! He appeared in front of the city, walking slowly. Arad! Aella jumped from the wall and rushed toward him. We saw the dragons fly away. How did it go? The purple dragon made a run for it, and the red Dracaena left since the fight ended. Arad patted her head. That purple dragon won't be back any time soon. Izdis and Jack, who were at the back, sighed in relief. They don't have to fight anymore, at least for now. Tomorrow late at night, Arad, Aella, Jack, Lydia, and Izdis were sitting in the tavern drinking after dinner. Lydia relaxed back on her chair, feeling the tight bandages on her stomach beneath the corset the healers gave her. She looked toward Jack with a smile. Unlike her, he had several large burns from riding the Dracaena. Aella did have 2 of her ribs broken when the purple dragon caught her in his claw, but she was fine otherwise. Izdis sighed. Since you cleared the goblin nest without letting anyone out and we got attacked by them, I think there's a second nest around here. You're right. We need to find and burn it. Arad looked at the table. Their mission was to get rid of the goblins, not deal with the dragons. I do want to visit the elves after that, but I lost my head captain and some of my strongest guards. Izdis sighed, shaking her beer mug. Should I send a letter to the capital? No. It will take at least 2 weeks to reach them, and even longer for them to mobilize some knights. I would say about a month and a half total. You also need to get back to the capital afterward. I suggest you give up on visiting the elves. Arad stared at her. I can't do that. The relationship between us is already sore. Breaking a promise would be bad. She looked around and then at Arad with a smile. Care to be my bodyguard on the trip to the elves? And back to the capital if possible? Thud, Aella grabbed Izdis by the head. What are you up to? For the elves, I really don't want to muddy the relationship between us further. But I also want to show Arad to my father, Izdis replied with a smile. I will really kill you. Aella growled. Izdis giggled, looking at Aella with a smile. You would have already done that by now. Lydia stared at them. You two, calm down. We need to take care of the second goblin nest first. I was intending to bring the elves to deal with it. Izdis looked at Lydia. The nest, already agitated. They will attack the village in the time we take going to the elves and back. Jack looked at them. It's goblin slaying time. Arad stood with a smile. You're right. What happened to that purple woman? Still unconscious? You messed her up really bad. Izdis stared at him. Chapter 291, A Rogue's Warning. Arad shook his arms. It was her fault for attacking us. Leave her chained till we get back from the goblin's nest. He stood and cracked his neck. We leave before dawn. Do you know where it could be? Izdis nodded. We only need to follow the direction they came from. She stood and looked at Aella. At dawn it is. Aella looked at her. Arad said before dawn, don't oversleep. I will go as well. Lydia stood and Arad stared at her. No, you're too injured to fight. Or if you insist, come, but only watch. Don't take the front. Arad is right. You need to slow down. Jack stood beside Arad. There aren't many rooms, so you lots take my room. I will spend the night with Arad. This was a small village, and the rooms in the inn were limited. Arad and Jack would sleep together in Arad's room, while Aella, Lydia, and Isdis would take Jack's room. Arad sat on the chair in his room looking at Jack. So, you wanted to talk about something, is that right? You know me well. Jack pulled a chair and faced Arad. I don't trust that princess. Keep an eye on her. Or, to be more honest, I think she isn't honest with us to begin with. Jack smiled. Why do you think that? Nobles usually have motives after everything they do. It's rare for them to just think from the goodness of their hearts. He looked at Arad. Aella also smelled something off, but I think her reaction of killing Isdis would cause more harm than good. Arad scratched his chin. So, what do you suggest? Jack looked at the ceiling, thinking, it's hard to say right now. I need to observe her for a bit longer. So, are we escorting her back to the capital? Arad asked. We can do that without a problem, as long as we refuse any invitation to the royal castle. I don't think the king will go out of his way to annoy you right now, but I'm sure you will end up called when something big happens, like a war. Arad sighed. That's just one example. They can call you about anything from monster hunting to political meetings and marriages, which is annoying at best, and devastating most of the time. Jack looked at Arad. I understand the first two, but what about political marriages? I don't want to travel all the way to the capital for someone's marriage. Arad growled. You didn't seem to understand what I said about that, so let me explain more. Jack smiled. When a noble disobey the king or do something really bad, they get executed. There are two ways for their families at that point. Jack lifted 2 fingers. 1, a whole family execution, so the land will be free from their inheritance. So the noble, his parents and siblings, his wife, his parents and siblings, their children and their grandchildren all would be executed. Jack shook his head. It's rare, but it was once carried when a noble practiced necromancy and caused an undead break out in the capital. The second option is family adoption, where the king takes the noble's wife or daughter, marries her to another noble, and gives him ownership of everything that would make it impossible for them to inherit anything and would save their lives. Jack finished explaining. So he would want you to marry someone's daughter or wife, taking her as a concubine or less, of course. That would be bad, right? Arad could imagine Aella and Mira not liking the idea. True, traditionally it's the first wife that makes the decision of taking another wife or concubine. In your case, it's Aella and Mira, but now the king is using his power to interfere, and that usually doesn't end well. Jack sighed, going to the capital. And especially meeting the king would be a whole rabbit hole of problems. So we aren't going to the capital, Arad looked out the window. It's better to avoid the king for now. We can go to the capital. As long as we don't go see the king, it should be fine. Jack giggled. I doubt Isdis would risk a dragon going crazy inside the capital, let alone the royal castle. Arad smiled. You're right. I can always fight back. I won't recommend doing that, Jack shook his head. The capital is home to the main church, the place where the Holy Army is stationed. The Holy Army, Arad gasped. An army full of clerics, paladins, and holy sorcerers and warlocks, Jack said, looking at Arad. Each of those paladins is stronger than Lydia and should be able to output more power with their smite. Arad sighed. I would die, is what you say. I'm a vampire, after all. Yeah. I can't imagine you winning. Jack stood and pulled a sleeping bag. We can go, but don't cause trouble there. They won't attack unless you harm someone or something. Can't Lydia talk with them? Arad sat on the bed. I doubt it. She might be strong, but she's nowhere near the army's paladins or their authority. It's like asking a guard to speak with a war general about something. It's just not happening. Jack looked at Arad. Arad lay on the bed, closing his eyes. We will think about it after we get rid of the goblins and visit the elves. I want to see what Aella's country looks like. The next morning quickly came by, and Arad could hear Aella and the other girls wake up. He stood and looked at the sleeping Jack. Wake up. It's time. The sun isn't out yet. Jack growled, looking into the bag like a dying worm. We're supposed to start before down, remember? Get up now. Arad shook Jack and lifted him up. What a cruel boss, Jack grunted and stumbled back to wash his face. When going downstairs, Arad saw Isdis with Ayala in the tavern hallway tinkering with a strange wooden thing. What's that? Arad asked, approaching them. Ding! Ayala pulled the string, and it made a strange sound. Isdis looked back at Arad. This? A biwa, she replied with a puzzled face. Chapter 292, the spell's word barred. What is a biwa? Arad approached, looking at the strange device. Isdis lifted the biwa, showing it to Arad. This is a musical instrument. You pull the strings like this, and it makes a sound. Ding! Isdis stroked the strings with her fingers, pulling on them with her nails. I can use it to channel large spells like an arcane focus. Staves, wands, and orbs, you know them. She's a bard, Ella said with a deep sigh. I should have guessed. Cling. Isdis pulled her sword and laid the blade on the biwa strings. Isdis Lior Ruris, the kingdom's 5th princess and a spellsword bard. She smiled. Zuri ding. I cast magic by playing the biwa. Not useful for sneaking around, but perfect for leaving an impression. Arad looked at her. Magic through playing that thing? Magic delivered through sound and voice. It is the same as your roar's frightful presence. Like this, Isdis smiled, pulling on the strings. Ding! Dancing shadows upon the ice. Call the crows, cause death would be nice. Crack. All the drinks in the shop froze solid, cracking some of the bottles behind the owner's counter. This cell only affects liquids, but I can force you to freeze blood. Isdis smiled. But I specialize in buffing. I can play a song in the back and help you recover faster, hit harder, and feel less pain in the middle of a fight. Arad blinked twice. You could have done it before in the dragon fight. Isdis looked away. Well, the spell is mental in its base form, but you had a ton of resistance that I won't be able to affect you even if I wanted, unless you allow me. She needs the person's consent to affect them with buff spells, especially if they are stronger than her. Ayala looked at Arad. But be careful who you allow to touch your mind. Mind control spells are dangerous. Isdis looked at Arad. Well, do you allow me to touch your mind? I will give some sweets buffs, and I'll promise not to look too deep inside. Let her do it. I would slap her if she went beyond giving you a buff. You can do it, but don't look into my mind. Arad stared at Isdis. It's for your own best interest. Come on, Isdis cried. Seeing your mind would allow me to create better buffs tailored for you. Just a small peek will do. I said no. Arad stared at her. Not even a bit. Pretty please. Let me have a tiny look at it. Isdis stared at him. No, Arad sighed. Cast the buff, and I will let you look if I got to trust you more. Isdis smiled, lifting her biwa ding with a single stroke. She felt her magic travel to Arad's body. But she soon froze. It was too deep and dark. What is this? Isdis gasped. With normal humans, it's usually as simple as popping a spell and they get affected. But it's different with Arad. It's like pushing my hand into a dark hole without looking. I don't know when I will touch the bottom. She started sweating. It was like standing on stairs in the dark, not able to see anything. She lowers her foot, unable to touch the next step, so she ponders where it is. Will she touch a step or fall into an endless abyss? I want to look so I can steer the magic. But he said not to. She grunted inside. Arad, can I take a look at your mind? I can't steer the magic inside you. It's still no. Do it without looking at my mind or stop the spell. Arad growled and Isdis sighed. Nerd and thud. After a few seconds of playing the biwa, Isdis finally touched something inside Arad and could feel her magic activating. Ah, what a relief. It worked. She opened her eyes, seeing a massive black Dracaena glaring at her. Ding! A droplet of water fell on the ground, sending a small wave as the whole sky lit with stars. Didn't Arad tell you not to look? Mom growled. Isdis stared at Mom, sweating. This existence-heavy and powerful clap. She clenched her palms together, blessed. Isdis sent a magic blast toward Mom and jumped back, noticing the two curses beneath her wings. 3 parasites, a dragon, a vampire, and a werewolf. I need to banish them. Thud, Isdis gasped, seeing the vampire shadow standing beside her. He's fast. She swung her arm, but the vampire dodged and kicked her to the ground. Crack. Isdis felt the heavy hit on her chest as she barely stood up. "Keep a distance," she shouted, forcing the vampire to stand away for a second. Thud, the werewolf, jumped forward, swinging his claw at Isdis's shoulder, sending her flying toward Mom. Crack. Mom smacked Isdis down with her tail. "Gah!" Isdis gasped outside, falling on her shaking knees. "I almost died. What is that?" She stared at Arad. "What happened to you?" Arad looked at Isdis, confused. To him, she only took a second from casting to falling on her knees. He's cursed really badly. Isdis thought, forget the vampire and werewolf. Those aren't too bad. The problem is that the large dragon, it's affecting his mind and soul. "Arad, can we speak?" Isdis looked at Arad. "That thing inside you, do you know what it is?" Arad blinked. "Ah, you looked inside me and met Mom. She said she would slap you if you looked inside. Mom, you think that thing is your mother?" Isdis stared at Arad, confused. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. It's our void nature," Arad replied. Isdis stood, scratching her. "I'm not trying to be rude, but she looked like a parasite, a curse eating away at your mind and slowly changing it." She looked at Arad's face. "It might be better for you not to listen to her. Try acting on your own will. Mom has more experience as a void dragon than me. I will listen to her as most of the time. She's right," Arad growled. "You do you." That is what she looked to me with my current knowledge, so I might be wrong. Isdis sighed, sitting on a chair. Chapter 293, Draconic Senses. Thud, thud. Jack walked downstairs, staring at Arad and the rest. "You're still here?" He yawned. "I thought you would have left without me." He smiled, waving his hand. "Lydia is waiting outside. We can set off immediately." Alice stared back at him and Arad nodded. "She's right. Let's go and get this over with as quickly as possible." He smiled, cracking his neck and walking toward the door. "You seem excited." Jack looked at Arad. "I hate when unexpected things happen, and the dragon attack certainly was one." He opened the door and saw Lydia standing beside a horse-drawn carriage. "You're finally out? Do you fear the sun?" "It's not dawn yet," she stared at Arad. "Not really, but I do prefer the calmness of the night," Arad replied with a smile. Void dragons are nocturnal hunters. Their bodies, color, and even behavior and skills contributed to giving them an advantage at night. Maiden. Lydia swung her sword with a smile. "She moves, and bang, I blast her to hell." "H.M.," Eris growled, seeing the innocent and happy smile on Lydia's face. "Please don't do it now," Arad approached Lydia. "We need information from her. We will interrogate her after we deal with the goblin threat." "I agree," Isdis looked at Eris. "Those shackles should keep her power down, right?" "Draconic, yes. But I doubt they will stop her vampire powers." Arad looked at her, remembering how he escaped the shackles. "Eris has the same solution." He approached her, looking at her face. "Now that I thought about it, I never saw you in daylight. Do you burn under the sun?" Eris growled, writhing on the carriage like an angry bug, butting her head on the floor and kicking the walls with her tied legs. "I can't understand you, but that seems like a yes." Arad smiled, covering her with the rugs. "Stay calm and obedient inside. I will check on you after the mission." Arad could still hear Eris growling beneath the rugs. Thud. He lightly punched her. "I told you to calm down. You won't die if you remained hidden." "Ah," Jack gasped. "I think I know what she wants." He approached the carriage with a happy smile. "Your father escaped. Don't worry about him. He's alive for now. Jack patted the rugs, and Eris calmed down for a second, and she soon got back to growling. Arid looked at the carriage. Let's ignore her and move for now. He smiled. We didn't expect her to wake right before the mission, so she needs to wait a bit. Everyone headed out of the city and into the forest, following the goblins' trails. It wasn't easy at all. Arid saw multiple trails, and each one led in a different direction. Nothing is clear. What should we do? Lydia looked at Arid. Can you fly up and find them? Arad smiled. I have something I wanted to test. Arad started taking his shoes off. What are you doing? Aela approached him, and he smiled, taking off his shirt. Something Nina taught me, or should I say, showed me. Arad remembered his brief exchange with Nina at the guild. Who's Nina? Izdis looked at Jack. The berserker, Jack replied with a smile, and she froze. Are you serious? Izdis gasped. In the flesh, you must be careful. She cares about him. Jack stared at Izdis, making sure his word sounds a little bit like a threat. You can't handle her, can you? The current kingdom was powerful, but Nina was too much for them to deal with. They can kill Nina with enough time and power spent, but the kingdom won't exist afterward. Fighting Nina would cause enough damage to bring them to their knees. With this threat, Jack managed to provide Arad with a small protection. He can be certain the kingdom won't directly try harming Arad, since they don't want a monster on the loose. Thud. Thud. Arad cracked his neck, shirtless as he stood barefoot on the dirt, smiling with his eyes closed. Feel it, the vibrations on the ground, the air movement on my skin, the faint crackles of bushes in the distance. He started focusing more on his senses. The image isn't clear yet. Expand it more. Arad opened his mouth and took a deep breath from his mouth and nose. His nose picked the smell, and his tongue tasted air like a snake. Arad lastly opened his eyes, picking up visual and magical information and layering them on top of all of his senses. Arad then pointed his finger in that direction. This way, we can find the goblins, he smiled. I can feel their footsteps rattling the ground. I can smell and taste their flesh in the air. They don't leave many magic traces, but I can pick a faint aura of their shaman. Ella looked at Arad. Is that so? Did Nina teach you all of this? No, I saw her use this once. Arad looked at his feet. She called it tremor, sense, monster. Izdis cried inside, seeing Arad brush what he did with a smile. Is this the power of dragons? An apex predator on the hunt. She took a step back. Let's go. Arad waved his hand to them, walking in the front with his hands in his pockets. He didn't bother wearing his shoes or shirt so he could keep his senses active all the time. Thud. With each step forward, the forest seemed calmer. Izdis started getting worried. It was strange that no monster showed up till this point, and it was still dark. Thud. Arad stood, seeing a large viper glaring at him. Everyone besides Arad got alerted, pulling their weapons. Giant cobra. Jack growled. Arad approached the cobra with a smile, and she didn't move. A lamb found herself facing a lion. Running away would make her look like prey, and fighting would make him see her as an enemy. The cobra stood still, not moving a single muscle. Chapter 294, The Goblin's Front Hole. Most monsters won't dare pick up a fight with a dragon. Only the fools or desperate would do it. Thud. Arad touched the cobra with his hand. Go, he growled, and she slithered away in fear. The dragon wasn't seeing her as prey, so she survived for the time being. You could have killed it for the experience. Jack looked at Arad. We're focusing on the goblins. We shouldn't scare them away. Arad looked forward. Let's move silently. It only took them a few minutes to spot the goblins going in and out of a small hole in the ground. They dug a hole like moles and started living. Ella, get ready to take a shot, Arad whispered, pointing at one of the goblins walking around the area. Thud. Jack touched Arad's shoulder. No, let me take care of the scouts. She kills the guards and anyone coming out of that hole. Arad nodded, and Aela pulled her bow, getting ready to fire. Jack smiled, crouching and going invisible. He pulled a dagger and crawled across the bushes. He's there, good. Jack smiled, slowly approaching the unaware goblin scout. He lay behind him beneath the tall grass, waiting for him to exhale. It was a simple practice by rogues and assassins. Stab the target's throat right after they exhale so they can't scream. Eden Oev, the goblin, took a deep breath and then emptied his lungs. Thud! Jack stood, grabbing the goblin's head and stabbing his throat. Come on, little guy, to the ground. He then pulled the dying goblin to the ground and waited for him to lose consciousness of blood loss. When the goblin died, Jack looked at the second scout. Now, to finish that off, thud, Arad touched Jack's back. I will take care of the corpses. Jack smiled. You can't sneak that well. Don't follow me. Wait till I gather a few corpses before eating them. I'm not eating them. Those things look gross, Arad growled, looking at the wart-filled green goblin. I'm just gathering the corpses so we can burn them later. It doesn't matter both ways, Jack smiled. Just watch. Jack went invisible again, crawling toward the next goblin, smiling. Arad looked at Jack. I can still see him. Most invisible creatures are using magic to be invisible. Your void eyes can see that. What kind of creatures I won't be able to see? Arad asked. Those who use non-magical means to become invisible. Dragons with a lifelong experience in camouflage can escape the grasp of your eyes as they aren't invisible. They change their scale color to blend in like lizards. So only creatures who don't use magic. There is a type of dragon called a force dragon, or the transparent dragons. They don't interact with light in the first place, so they can't be seen. What does light have to do with being invisible? Won't that make them black? No, light passed through them, so they are invisible. I see. Arad lifted his head, looking at Jack to see him finishing the 7th goblin scout. I better start cleaning. Arad crawled behind Jack, mimicking his moves and clearing the corpses. Ayla pulled her bowstring, aiming at the hole's entrance. Something is coming out. Isdis pulled her sword. Probably they got worried since the scouts didn't get back. She took a deep breath. I can send them to sleep with a simple tone. Don't? You will alert the one who doesn't get affected. Ayla aimed at the goblin, keeping an eye on him as he moved toward the bushes where the scouts were roaming. Jack looked back at Ayla, waving his hand and making a cutting motion around his neck. Take him down before he sees the corpses. He wanted to scream, but that would expose them. Pew! Ayla released her arrow, sending it flying between the trees. Bam! The arrow pierced the goblin's tiny skull, leaving a gaping hole in it. Gah! The goblin gasped, falling dead. Ayla lifted one of her fingers and the arrow changed direction, flying back to her hand. Jack looked back at the nest. Damn it, they are noticing. He saw the goblins growling at the entrance. He then looked back at Isdis, signaling for her to get ready to play. Isdis nodded, sheathing her sword and pulling her biwa. Jack then waved his hand for Arad to stay low as he crawled toward the goblin nest. It's all or nothing. It won't take them long to send a large group to explore. We then won't be able to save the hostages if any were inside. Jack watched the goblins at the entrance carefully. He would strike if they tried to act, but he hoped they would forget and get back to guard. They didn't see the scouts die. They only heard a sound. It's highly possible they won't make much of it. The goblins growled at each other as if debating whether to go or not, and Jack started getting worried. Come on, let your goblin brains rest and forget. In the back, Arad pointed with his finger at a bush. His eyes could spot the small creature crawling inside. Gravity magic swash? Jack blinked, seeing a rat rolling in front of the goblin's nest. Gooha! The goblins stared at the scared rat as he ran back to the forest. Gooha! They looked at each other and went back to standing still. Jack lifted a thumb up to Arad. Nice job. Arad smiled, returning the thumbs up. Isdis sighed, relieved she won't need to play her biwa since the sound would send the whole colony after them. Jack looked at the goblins with a worried face. Now, there is one small hole. How could we get inside without them noticing us? He looked around for a back hole. They gotta have another entrance that they use to run away. Goblins are stupid, but they aren't dumb. He crawled toward the back, searching between the leaves and stones. He soon found a large log that seemed to have been moved. This is it, Chapter 295, The Goblin's Back Hole. Jack signaled to Arad to come closer, waving his finger. Arad approached slowly. How can Jack do it? He wondered. Jack moved several times faster than him, silently. He's a rogue. Sneaking around is his thing. Arad reached Jack. What is it? Look, Jack whispered while pointing at the log. I bet this is the back entrance. We need to get inside and look for the hostages. Arad smiled. Should I push it aside? Yes, but do it slowly. The entrance below it shouldn't be that big. Jack looked around. It's clear, and I don't hear anything from behind the log. Wait a moment, Arad said with a smile. Let me check. Yid, Wild, or. He closed his eyes, focusing on all his senses. I can feel the movement below the ground. I can smell everything, so identifying isn't hard. We have hostages. 2 men and 4 women are located in a cell 50 meters deep. There is a 5th woman in a separate room, but Arad stopped, scratching his chin. What is it? Is she dead? Jack looked at him. It was already strange that one of the hostages is kept in a separate room. No, she smells nice. Arad looked at Jack. What? Jack stared at Arad. Well, it doesn't matter. I will open the locks, if any, and you get that woman out. So we're separating? No, the 6 people in a single room take priority. The smelling good woman remains last. Jack replied it was only obvious to try and save the majority first. Fine. I will push the log away. Arad crawled toward the log, pushing it aside. As Jack predicted, the hole was only small enough to crawl through. It's only for goblins to use. We can't get the hostages out of here, Jack growled. Fine, Arad smiled. Let's find them first, and then I will blast this hole open. That's a plan, Jack smiled, crawling inside the hole and closing his nose. The place stinks more than the city sewers, a completely horrid stench. Arad jumped in. Let's go, he whispered. Oi, where did you pick the woman's sweet smell? I want some of that as well. This place stinks, Jack whispered. You wanted it. Let's go to the cells first, Arad replied, pointing toward the cells. Fine. Jack sighed, sneaking across the cave till he saw 2 goblins. Wait here. Jack crawled behind them in the dark and pulled a second dagger. Thud. In the blink of an eye, he stood and swung at the goblins' backs. The daggers pierced their small bodies, cutting the spine and dropping them like dolls. Arad quickly sucked the corpses as he followed Jack. There it is, Jack smiled, seeing a large monster cage with the hostages inside. 1, 2, 6, Arad counted them. All elves, as the report said. Jack approached the cage looking for a lock. A human? One of the elf men growled, What are you doing here? Shh. Jack glared at him. Let us get you out of here, and then you can hate on us. Long ears. The elf man giggled. Sorry, I didn't mean it. You're opening that lock. Arad looked at Jack. I will go the other woman to save time. About her? The goblins here work for a dragon. They captured us as food for him. She was taken this morning to be fed to him. The man growled dragon food. Arad looked at the elf. Don't worry about the dragon. We might have dealt with this already. He smiled, walking toward the last woman's location. Arad walked across the dark hallways silently, following the woman's sweet smell. Thud. He could see a goblin standing beside a door, scratching his head with a bored face. Arad smiled. She is behind that door, but how could I take that goblin down silently like Jack? He looked around. Arad couldn't see much of a space to sneak around, and he didn't have an invisibility coat like him. What magic should I use? Arad smiled. Fire and lightning are a no-go, void or gravity. Ice should work as well, but which one is best? I can crush him with gravity, rip him apart with the void, or freeze him in place. Arad lifted his hand. I know it. Why not all at the same time? A dark gust of the void rushed from Arad's fingers. Use void magic to erase the air and light around him, muffling his voice. The goblin grabbed his neck, unable to breathe as his vision went black. Then Flash freezes him with ice magic. The goblin's body turned into an ice statue, then crush him down with gravity magic. The goblin's body turned into a ball of fine snow and blood, resting on the ground slime pulp. Arad rushed toward the door, pushing it open as it wasn't locked. The moment he got a whiff of the air inside, he started drooling. Looking inside the room, Arad saw a large table with a naked woman chained on it, smeared in raw flesh and blood. Hey. Hem. The elf woman growled from beneath her muffled mouth, trying to move. Arad slowly approached her. "So this is what they wanted to feed the dragon?" He sniffed her. "You smell nice. Did anyone tell you to him?" She looked like a fine, juicy steak, grilled to perfection. Hem. 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 Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. She growled, shaking her head. Arad looked at her, grabbing one of the meat pieces on her body and lifting it. Wild hog meat. He looked at the woman, gulping the meat in a single bite. "Sadly, I can't eat you, it seems. What a waste." The woman's face paled. Who was this? Another monster. "As I expected, Potion," Arad growled, walking to the edge of the room and puking the raw meat out. "Those little bastards were trying to kill the dragon." He giggled, looking back at the woman. "You've been soaking in the poison blood and flesh. We need to get you out to our paladin immediately." Arad approached the woman, grabbing the chain around her arms in his palm. Crack. The chain shattered. Chapter 296, Freeing the Hostages. "He?" the elf woman gasped, seeing Arad crush the chains in his palm. "Stand up. What are you waiting for?" Arad glared at her, smiling, his eyes flashing red. "Stop looking at me," she growled, covering herself with her arms. "It's not like you can choose, can you?" Arad smiled, pulling a rug from his stomach and throwing it at her with a dagger. The elf looked at the rug in her hands, confused. "You're smelling quite delicious now. If you want me to stop treating you like food, you better stop laying down like one." He turned toward the door. The elf woman threw the rug over her body and lifted the dagger, staring at Arad's back. "They are coming." Arad smiled as the door opened. "Gawa! Gawa's groveled!" They heard him shatter the chains and rushed out. "Goblins!" the woman gasped, pointing her dagger at them. "I now have a weapon, you little bastards. I will skin you alive." "Hee," Arad giggled. "Elf. That's gross." He slowly lifted his hands. "What will you do with all the wart-filled skin? The green color isn't even beautiful." The elf woman stared at Arad, confused. She didn't know what he was talking about it. Does he need to find sense in an angry grunt? "Be flattened like the grass you share a color with," Arad smiled, a purple aura burning around his palms. Gravity magic crack. The goblins flattened on the ground, oozing with blood as the elf woman gasped. "Magic? You aren't a strength-based one?" Arad looked back at her. "Follow me. We're going to meet with the others." He walked forward, stomping the corpses on his way and sucking them into his stomach. The elvish woman rushed after him as they hurled toward the prison cell. She stared at his back. With such muscles and raw power, yet he can use magic refined enough to flatten goblins with ease. That was gravity magic, wasn't it? She looked around, seeing the goblin dying left and right. The moment they got close to Arad. How many mages have mastered gravity magic enough to use it without an arcane focus? Is he the archmage of some human city? What brought such a person here? We were at war with them, right? After a second, they could see the goblins gathered around the cell door, kicking and trying to get it open. "Get out of my way." Arad swung his palm to the side, throwing them at the wall. "Jack, it's me," Arad shouted, and the door opened. He jumped inside with the elf woman after him, panting from exhaustion. "Arad, you alerted them." "I heard that chair shatter from here," Jack growled. "Come on, I'm not like you. I can't pick locks." Arad looked back, and the cell was still closed. "You didn't open it? I didn't have enough time thanks to you." "That lock is rusted as hell," Jack growled, rushing to close the door. "What do we do now?" Arad approached the cage and looked at the lock. It was indeed rusty. "We can't pick it open. We need to find the key," Jack grunted as the goblins started kicking the door again. "The key should be outside somewhere. One of the goblins might be carrying it." Arad nodded and touched the cage bars. "Let me try something." He grabbed 2 bars in his hands and took a deep breath. The elf women started sweating. She could guess what he was about to do. The veins on Arad's arms and chest bulged as he clenched his fists, spreading his arms apart. Benuvel, aura, crack. The bears twisted like dough, making the elves inside jump back in fear. The man in front of them had enough power to bend steel like it was nothing. Even as strange as it looked, those cages are designed to house slaves and not a whole dragon. Arad smiled, staring at the elves. "Line up. Can you run?" He looked at them and quickly noticed they can't even stand on their own. "Look." One of the elvish women showed her ankle to Arad. Her Achilles tendon had been severed. "The goblin's shaman heal us before taking us to be prepared to be fed to the dragon. Most of the time we're left like this so we can't run." Arad looked to the side, seeing one of the men barely stand. "He can stand. But this is the best I can do." The man growled, falling on his face. "It's impossible to stand like this." As an elf, he managed to balance himself for a second, but walking would be impossible. "Fine." Arad approached the elves, carrying them one after the other. After just a second, Arad carried 2 women under his left arm and the 2 men under his right arm, 1 woman on each shoulder, and lastly the dragon food woman hung on his neck. "Are you sure? I can walk," she gasped, and the elves tried to hide their shocked faces. It's stupid to call this out after he twisted steel bars like nothing, but the hole is small. You won't fit standing, let alone with all of those hanging from your neck. Jack looked at Arad with a smile. "I told you I would blast the hole open." Arad smiled, kicking the cell door open, tearing it from the hinges, and killing the goblins behind it. Thud, Arad walked into the hallway with a smile, looking toward the back hole. "Let's open it up, Clang." He kicked the door toward the hole with a grin. Arad's eyes flashed purple gravity magic, reverse gravity. The door flew upward, hitting the hole again and again, with more power. Arad shouted, bouncing the door up and down at the hole till he dug it out. Bam! From the outside, Aella saw the door fly toward the sky. "They go caught," she shouted, pulling 3 arrows and getting ready for a fight. Thud. Arad jumped out of the hole, carrying all the elves. "Hold tight! Bam!" He landed on the ground and started running away. "I leave the rest to you! Kill everything!" he shouted. "Gawa!" A goblin jumped from the bushes, swinging a dagger at Arad's back ding. The biwa sound boomed across the forest, and the goblin's ears burst. "I'm here, green paste!" Isdis smiled, lifting her sword and pointing the blade toward the biwa. "Ding! Ding!" She started playing, and all the goblins stared at her. Growling, Chapter 297, Surprise Attack. Ding. Ding. Aella pulled her bowstring, firing 3 arrows at the goblins as Isdis drew them closer with her biwa. "Don't draw too much of them. I can't keep up with the numbers." "Got it." Isdis smiled, rushing forward with her sword. "The knights are crying back in the village." She smiled, swinging her sword at one of the goblins, severing his head. "In Oevrenkthaum, Gawa." The goblins surrounded her, growling and grunting as they flailed their poisoned stone knives. "Don't get surrounded, you idiot! Princess!" Aella shouted at her. "Rear support, like a Brad, shouldn't rush to the front lines." Isdis smiled from ear to ear, pulling her sword. Iceblade, Isdis's sword, cooled rapidly to the point. White smoke started dripping from its blade. She spun around, swinging at one of the goblins. Crack! The sword cut the goblin's neck, freezing the splashing blood into small, sharp crystals. Crackle! The crystals splashed on the other goblins, blinding them. Ding! With a swift finger pull, she pulled the string on her biwa, sending a sharp sound. Crack! Ice spikes emerged from the goblin corpses, freezing them. As long as they are weaker than me one-on-one, and as long as they hear the sound of my biwa, they can't avoid my magic. A bard, the class focused on channeling magic through music. Personally, they are weak in one-of-one combat. barely being able to keep up with the other classes. But they make up for it with their strange casting methods. A bard channel his magic through music, so the moment you hear their instrument or voice, you've already been hit with the spell. Bam! A large hobgoblin stood before Isdis, glaring at her with glowing green eyes. Ho, a strong one, she smiled. Go, The hobgoblin growled, lifting his club out and swinging down. Crack! Isdis jumped back. Sorry, I'm not fighting you. Thud! Jack stood behind the hobgoblin, aiming his hand cannon at its back. Kaboom! Boom! He blasted his guts out, splashing Isdis. You bastard! Look what you've done! Isdis cried, gagging out as she wiped the blood from her face. You're looking more like an adventurer like this, Jack smiled, spinning his dagger. Gawa! Several hobgoblins emerged from the holes, followed by some shamans preparing magic. That's a lot, Jack. Isdis, back away. I will take the shamans down first. Ella pulled her bowstring, firing an arrow at one of the shamans. Gawa. A goblin jumped in front of the shaman and took the hit. Leave the hobgoblins to me and Isdis. Jack smiled, looking back. You take the shamans. Jack disappeared, and the hobs started falling one after the other, stabbed to the death from the back. Lydia sighed. I want to go help them. She looked at her hand and touched her stomach. She could barely move in her heavy armor. She looked at the carriage. You hit me well. Hem. Mim, R-O-B-M, Wres growled beneath the blanket. Lydia smiled but suddenly lifted her arms, protecting her neck. Crack. Her gauntlets cracked, a large slash marked on them. Who's there? She shouted. Hem, mim, 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 Erez growled. Feeling the fight starting, Lydia swiftly pulled her sword, looking around with a sweating face. Here, she swung her sword as fast as she could. Holy smite clap! The holy smite exploded in a brilliant flash. Blue, she coughed blood, finding a blade piercing her chest, a paladin protecting a vampire. How low has human fallen? The elf pulled his sword from Lydia's chest, kicking her toward the carriage. Lydia rolled and hit the carriage, seeing several elves jumping from the trees as her vision faded.
Major, someone is coming at a high speed.
One of the elves said with a smile. What should we do? The major who just hit Lydia grunted. That's another vampire. Use the artifact to teleport away. I will strike him when he gets in range. One of the elves pulled a crystal. As you order. He smiled. The crystal flashed with a brilliant light. Morning is soon to come. He won't survive anyway. In a spark, all the elves disappeared. After they left, a faint golden light emanated from the wakizashi. Lydia held that Jack gave to her before the sun is about to rise. Thud! Thud! Arad approached the carriage, smelling Lydia's blood. Did goblins reach her? Arad growled inside. Hold tight, he said, rushing even faster. When Arad got out of the trees, he saw Lydia bleeding beside the carriage with the wakizashi glowing on her waist. Lydia, he dropped the elves and rushed to her. Thud! Clap! A sword flashed out of nowhere, cutting Arad's head without wasting a second. Smeared in holy water, recover from this monster. The man growled, pulling a wooden stake from his waist and pushing it into Arad's back, piercing his heart. Crack. The elf major smashed Arad's body into the ground and stood fixing his long golden hair. How come that vampires are involved in this? How hard is it to start a war nowadays? He kicked Arad's body aside, surprised at how heavy he was. He approached the carriage. Sending mere monsters to kill that princess was a mistake. Now I had to dirty my hands. He lifted his sword. You're the last one. The major swung his sword at the blanket. Crack! He could feel it hitting something solid. This feeling chains? He gasped. Bam! A purple blast burned the blanket, and a plasma spear rushed at the major's face. Clang! He swung his blade up, deflecting the attack and kicking Eris in the face. Did they capture you? The major smiled. Look up. The sun is rising. You better run away. He pointed at the sky. It was dawn. Fush! Eris grunted as her skin started burning. Damn it. The major smiled as the elves appeared back behind him, smiling and laughing. Run, blood-sucking fiend. Eris smiled, pointing her spear at the Major. Now this became personal. Bam! She rushed forward, swinging her spear at his head. Clang, clap. The Major swung his sword to the side, destroying Eris's blade and catching her by the neck so she couldn't bite him. You're weaker under the sun like that other vampire. Only death awaits you. Eris smiled. Hee hee, she giggled. Death? The Major returned the smile. I cut his head and gouged his heart. The sun should be burning his rotten corpse now. Cut his head, stabbed his heart. Eris giggled. What kind of vampire do you think he is? She laughed. That's right, I tasted his blood. It belonged to the monster Scarlet, the impaling queen of the Blood Valley. Major, he isn't disintegrating. One of the elves cried in terror. Chapter 298, Werewolf Rage. What? The Major gasped, staring back at his men. You've wasting time, Eris smiled. Keep fooling around, and the man you killed will come back to life. Rustle. One of the elves heard something between the trees. He looked, seeing a massive jaw approaching his face. Kya! He cried, getting bitten in the face by a giant cobra. It's a giant cobra, the elves cried, pulling their bows and aiming at the monster. Zoo! A purple aura appeared around their bodies. Crack! They levitated up and then got smashed back on the ground. The Major could feel the magic coming from Arad, so he glared at him. You bastard! He could see Arad's arms extending up. You're still alive! Clock! Veins rushed from Arad's severed head, connecting and pulling him toward his body. Crack! Arad's head attacked as his body levitated up with his arms extended. Swash! The giant cobra coiled around Arad, hissing at the elves. Arad glared at the elf major. Kill him, he growled. Hiss, sis, sis, the hissed, snapping at the major with a lightning-fast bite. Thud, the major threw Eris down and jumped into the air, avoiding the bite. You monster? Why aren't you burning in the sun? Hiss, the cobra didn't wait for Major to finish talking, rushing at his with a second and a third bite, forcing him to dodge by jumping over her head. Arad lifted his hand. Come out of the forest, eat all the armed elves, and don't you dare touch anyone else. He shouted, Call of the night. 3 wolves rushed out of the forest, followed by a pack of wolves. Arad's spell seemed to have drawn the alpha of the wolves. Thud. Arad left the wolves to deal with the elves. And he rushed at the Major. Cobra, he's faster than you, so leave him to me. He grabbed the Major by the face. Let's go somewhere else. Void Step Zon Arad disappeared with the Major, teleporting 400 meters into the mountains where no soul could see them. Crack. Arad threw the Major on the ground and smiled. We're all alone now. The Major looked around, confused with a sweaty face. Teleportation and gravity magic and a vampire on top of that. He glared at Arad. Who are you? Who sent you? Arad glared at the Major. I should be asking questions. Bam. Arad lunged forward, swinging his fist at the Major's face. Clang. The Major lifted his blade, blocking Arad's strike with a worried face. This power. He looked at Arad's fingers. They were unharmed even though he used the edge. Bam! The Major flew back, hitting a stone and looking at Arad standing with the ground cracked beneath his feet. Light. Arad growled, pulling his hand back and taking a deep breath. The fine hair on Arad's body grew around his forearms and chest, reaching to his face to give him a thin beard around his jaw.
What?
The Major gasped, seeing Arad glaring at him with glowing golden eyes. In Novelacor? Ah. Arad exhaled, his fingernails turning into claws. Jack would be angry if I don't pull your guts out, he growled. Crack. Arad's toenails expanded into claws as the ground shattered beneath his feet. His body accelerated forward at a tremendous speed, using those claws for traction. The Major lifted his sword, blocking Arad's claw strike at the last moment. His speed didn't increase. What was that transformation for? Crack. Arad twisted his leg, using the traction provided by his claw and the raw power of his legs to shift his direction in an instant with Werewolf uncanny physique. It was this. The Major growled, swinging his sword with a back-edge strike at Arad's head. Thud, Arad lunged aside and started running on all four, accelerating faster than what could be achieved naturally on two legs. How could you be a werewolf and a vampire simultaneously? He lifted his hand and swung it down. Valkros's earth spikes, the ground cracked, and tens of sharp stone spears burst out in front of Arad. Arad didn't slow down, running between the spears and avoiding them by a hair strand. He's as nimble as I expected, but that should work against him. The Major smiled, pointing his sword at Arad. I only need to wait for the moment he starts dodging a spear and aim at that spot. Valkros's thundering needle, a short stone spike, appeared in front of the Major's sword tip. The spike started spinning rapidly before blasting forward with a shockwave. Thud, thud. Arad kept running forward, and the spike reached his face in the blink of an eye. The Major smiled as it was about to hit. Clap! A wind-infused arrow flew across, hitting the spike at the last moment and blasting it into small pieces. A woo! Arad rushed through the dust, lunging at the Major's stone stage. The Major swung his sword down, and the ground beneath him rose a few feet, propelling his body back crack. With a single claw swing, Arad ripped the stone floor to shreds. Fisho! The Major looked to his right, lifting his sword to block a second arrow. Clang! Clap! The arrow hit his sword, exploding in a massive shockwave. The Major growled, "Wind magic? I can't see the archer from here. Who is it?" He glared at the forest, trying to pinpoint the archer. Back in the forest, Aella stood on a tree, aiming her bow with veins bulging on her face. She took a deep breath, and a green flame of wind magic started dripping from her eyes and bow. The moment she released the arrow, a blast of air exploded from her body, knocking Izdis away and throwing Jack off his feet. "Be careful!" Izdis cried as she rolled on the ground, feeling the impact resonate in her chest. "Give me a warning beforehand," Jack cried. Barely standing up, Aella could hear them, but she would rather focus on aiming than give them a warning. She pulled a second arrow, staring into the distance. Chapter 299, Vampiric Werewolf. The Major jumped back, seeing two arrows blazing toward him. "This speed and range, a Deianira," he growled, cutting the two arrows but still getting blasted away. Thud. Arad jumped at the Major, swinging his claw. Clang. The Major deflected the strike. Good, think I'm faster than him. Bam. Arad shifted his direction and hit the Major with a left hook claw. Woo! He howled, sending the man rolling with a slashed right arm. The Major rolled on the ground. "Wait, you're getting faster?" he gasped, lifting his sword. Crackle! A stone spear rushed from the ground at Arad Zon. Arad teleported behind the Major, black scales appearing around his body. He wasn't a werewolf to begin with. He is a wormwolf. Arad rushed forward, swinging his claw at Major. "Those scales, are you a werewolf or a vampire?" "What kind of monster did the humans conjure?" the Major growled, avoiding one of Aella's arrows. "But gain, OL. I can't win by only defending. I need to attack." The Major rushed at Arad. I need to kill him before he gets even faster. The Major swung his blade downward, and Arad jumped to the side. He quickly shifted the direction of the strike to chase the werewolf. Arad stepped back, and the Major shifted the attack into a thrust. Arad bent back, dodging the attack. "Got you!" The Major shifted into a downward slash. Clang. Arad grabbed the ground with his arms, swung his right foot up, and caught the sword in his foot claws. Arad's second foot grabbed the Major in the face. "You bastard!" the Major growled, feeling Arad's claws digging into his jaw and forehead. Creak. Veins bulged on Arad's arms as he stood on them, lifting the Major by the face. Swash, using his claws to grip his raw power and the werewolf uncanny physique skill, he spun on his hand and smacked the Major back onto the ground. Crack. The Major coughed blood as Arad disarmed him, kicking the sword away. The Major looked up from between Arad's claws. He's getting faster, and I can't predict his moves. Who taught this bastard how to fight? Thud! The Major tapped on the ground. Dominoes grandiose, the ground around them split apart, closing on Arad like the jaws of a massive beast. The Major crawled away, barely escaping Arad's claws. Damn it, how could I kill him? He growled, remembering how Arad survived the sneak attack in the forest. He looked back at the stones and pointed at them. Dominos Lacius, more stones flew around the mass and locked Arad deeper into a sphere of boulders. This should keep him sealed for some time. I need to run and report this back. The Major turned, running as fast as he could. Boom. The stone seal exploded into dust, and a massive shadow toured over the Major. The Major glared back in terror. "Rard, roar!" Arad roared, the blast pushing the dust away, revealing his massive draconic form. "You were a dragon all along. You monster unfit for mortality," the Major cried. "Rard!" Idrin stopped roaring, thick fur growing from beneath his scales and his claws grew longer. "Jeech!" the Major gasped, feeling a strange curse pulsing inside Arad's draconic body. Something unholy was coming out. Crack! As fur covered Arad's draconic body, an extra pair of golden eyes emerged on his forehead as his opal teeth grew sharper and his muscles became bigger. Arad never tried to use bestial from in draconic form, but that was something possible. Nothing prevented him from stacking everything. The curse of lycanthropy? Since when that can affect dragons? The Major growled, pointing his arms at Arad to cast a spell. But he then realized something, falling on his knees and pissing himself. "What about the vampirism?" he gasped. Blood magic started gushing out of Arad's body in a terrifying amount. He had just feasted on the blood of a purple dragon and his vampiric half-dragon daughter Clap. A second pair of wings, akin to those of bats, emerged from Arad's back, followed by a third pair of eyes on his forehead, glowing red like rubies. When Arad gazed upon the Major, he could see his magic through the void eyes and tell when he was about to cast spells. He could see his blood flow through the vampire's eyes and tell when he was about to attack. He could also read the Major's body language and fine movements to determine his state of mind. "You fucking abomination." The Major growled as he saw Arad about to lung at him. Clap. Arad lunged forward, splat. The Major could feel his veins bursting as blood gushed from his eyes and ears. Crack. Arad opened both his front claws. I usually hold the sword with both hands when I action surge, resulting in 8 attacks. Arad's got ready to swing, but I can coordinate both of my arms with my werewolf skill. So this is possible. Action surge, Arad roared, sending 8 slashes from each arm, resulting in a total of 16 slashes, rendering the Major into minced meat. Swash. A wave of void rushed afterward, consuming the Major's corpses and erasing his existence in the blink of an eye. Crack. Arad landed, grunting and shaking his head. Probably I went overboard. One claw strike could have killed him. He looked toward the forest. In a faraway land, a short woman with red hair and long ears laughed her guts out, staring down at a water bowl while floating upside down, her blue eyes glowing in the dark as she saw Arad. What a monster! How terrifying, how disgusting, and how amazing, she spun around. But sadly, he is as useless as it gets. What a failure! She swung her hand. Switching the view toward the capital, with a grin, in the image she could see a white-haired man walking down the street with his hands in his pocket and a smile on his face. This one, on the other hand, is far more horrifying and usable, Chapter 300. Blackmailed thud. Arad transformed back to his humanoid form and teleported toward the forest, landing beside the carriage to find Jack and Isdis treating Lydia. He looked to the side to see Alla patching her fingers. "What happened?" he asked, approaching her. "Ripped the skin off my fingertips firing those arrows." She shook her hands. "It's been a while since I channeled so much magic." For real, you should have seen her. The shock wave of her bow firing shook the trees. Jack looked toward Arad with a smile. "How is Lydia doing?" Arad asked, seeing Lydia still unconscious. "She's been taking a lot of hits lately." Jack shook his arms. "She's good enough not to be in danger. She will survive. He smiled. How about you? What happened to the elf leader? Dead? What about the rest? Arad looked around. Bidnolv, calm. The attacks are all dead. No one escaped since Aela sniped them all. Jack smiled, pointing at the back. The elf hostages are there. Arad looked to see the giant cobra coiled around the hostages from the goblin raid. They look scared to me. They aren't. Jack shook his arm. Look at them, happy and alive. We wanted to ask you about whether to let them live or kill them. Izdis stared at Arad. They saw you, didn't they? Arad scratched his head. I don't know about that. To me, Izdis looked at the hostages. I would rather worsen our relation with the elves and kill those hostages than expose you to them. I say we deliver them back to the elves. Arad looked at Izdis. No need to kill them. They could expose your secret. Izdis glared at Arad with a smile. But we can always provide protection for you. This is my chance to get him under the kingdom. Right now he only has two choices, either kill the elves and cause trouble for the kingdom and be in depate for us staying silent, or side with us to avoid the whole mess. Jack and Aela stared at Arad. Hey! Jack sighed, stuck between the anvil and the hammer. We'd rather not choose any of the paths, Aela stared at Izdis. Either of them ends with the kingdom having some influence over Arad, won't it? It's just the nature of the events. Nothing that I can do about it. She waved her hands. So what do you say? She extended her hand to Arad. Ahem. Eris cleared her throat in the back. Her whole body was covered with a black blanket. Why don't you turn that princess into a thrall and have her stay shut for the rest of her life? Hey, you, Izdis growled, glaring at Eris. She will tell the king a powerful vampire attacked and she was turned to save face. He will silently search for a cure for his daughter and bury everything that happened today. Eris smiled. I will even hold her for you. Arad looked at Eris. I thought you were chained. I was, Eris smiled. I used that elf's strike to break the chains, she pointed at the ground. Fine, I don't think he intended to do it, Arad smiled. Why didn't you run away? That elf can snipe me down, and I didn't really want to have you chase me again. Eris sighed. In my current state, I would die before I can get away. Arad looked at the sky. The sun? That's only a part of it. Eris looked at Arad from beneath her blanket. It was a mistake to drink your blood. It's wrecking my guts, and I can't seem to recover from it. It doesn't really matter, Jack sighed, looking at Arad with a smile. We get back to the village, get those elves patched up, and resupply for the trip to the elves. Can you decide for Arad? Izdis stared at Jack. Isn't he the one making decisions? Jack looked at her. Well, I did find something interesting. He pulled a small stack of papers from his pocket. I believe those were in your stuff, right? Give them back. Izdis rushed at him, snatching the papers away. You dare go through my stuff. Jack smiled. Like I'm going to trust you without anything. He smiled. Look closely. Izdis stared at the papers, her face going pale. Those are counterfeit. Jack laughed. It's your fault for carrying economic data from the capital with you. I already gave the real ones to people that I trust. Jack stared at her. You either keep quiet, or they are exposed to the whole world. You dare blackmail a princess. Izdis growled, pulling her sword. Jack scratched his chin. A princess? Can you show me your identification? What are you talking about? Izdis growled, but soon realized what he meant and rushed to look inside her pocket. Everything was gone. No money, no royal necklace, and not a single thing proving she's the princess. You stole everything, Izdis cried. You were used to your head knight, managing everything, Jack smiled. Now you are all alone, Izdis glared at him. I will have him executed when we get back to the capital. You better not get any funny ideas. Jack lifted his hands as if he read her mind. Arad, catch. He threw a scroll to him. Arad opened the scroll and read it, a plan to cause a rebellion, and it's signed by Izdis. Even he was confused. I made that one, copied her signature from those economic data. I gotta be prepared when dealing with royalty. That's what my sister taught me. Izdis sighed. Give them back. I won't. Not as long as I don't trust you. Jack glared at her. You have something on us, and I have something on you. Isdis growled, citing. Fine, fine. She glared at Arad. But I can't do anything to the elves. Arad sighed, approaching the carriage. Hiss, he could hear the cobra hissing in the back. What is it? He stared at her. Hiss. I see. But that would be quite hard. Arad scratched his head. You can understand monsters? Isdis stared at Arad. Isn't that strange?